Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Monday morning. Well, how about that for the weekend that was? Duke is out in the NCAA tournament. Finally an upset. Not a massive upset, but, a tiny upset. Houston taking down Duke. And the Big 12's got a team in the title game. And how about Kelvin Sampson pumping up the Big 12, too? Underrate us. We went 19-1, not in some pansy league, in the Big 12. Yes. Tough physical league. I suppose that stuff matters. I mean, the money is the first thing. But when the money's about the same, and no one wants to, blow a lot of money, so they're not going to be outbidden. And a lot of times going to find a market, and I think that guys will have to pick between similar offers. So in that case, then it gets back to old-fashioned recruiting, relationships, what league are you in, that kind of stuff. Money first, though. We'll have more on the Final Four coming up in what is trending at the top of the 7 o'clock hour. Right now, though, the locals, the Jazz get beat, which, a loss is a win for the Jazz these days. Utah Hockey Club wins. We'll get to that. And Real Salt Lake wins. We'll get to that. Let's start with the Utah Jazz, though. They give up more than 140 points again. 81 points in the first half. Terrible. But Walker Kessler didn't play, so a bad defensive team becomes a horrible defensive team when they don't have Kessler's size and shot blocking in there. Let's get to the best of the Jazz postgame show.
It's your Jazz recap here on DJ and PK 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone. Jazz fall to the Hawks last night, 147-134 in Atlanta, a game where not much defense was being played on either side. The story of the night for the Jazz, Keyonte George, 35 points, a new career high for him, 10 of 19 shooting, 7 of 13 from 3 in the loss. Let's get to the postgame sound of Jazz head coach Will Hardy.
Credit to Atlanta. They shot the ball great from 3, 54%, 22 makes. They obviously shot above their norm, but that's a credit to them. That's life in the NBA. Sometimes the other team makes a bunch of threes. I thought our team generated a lot of good looks offensively, but ultimately the size factor in tonight's game really hurt us on the defensive side.
Dealing with those small ball lineups that you did in the second half, what do you think of those groups and just what goes into making those lineups successful?
Yeah, I think the guys played with a lot of pace. I thought they played with a bunch of urgency, recognizing that they were smaller. It's just going to take multiple efforts to defend the rim. It takes a lot of people being willing to make physical plays, sacrifice their bodies at different times at the basket in order to protect the rim, and then the last piece of that is you got to rebound. So it's not something we've done much this year, but I do think that it gave us a bunch of tempo offensively and kept us in the game. Yeah, I thought he did a good job running in transition, got himself some catch and shoots. He took 13 threes. I thought a good amount of those were catch and shoot. Keontae's, his life changes a lot during the game because some moments he's more on the ball, some moments he's more off the ball. Obviously it helps when you make 7 threes, but I think in general he did a good job playing with angles when he did get a closeout, or we did put them in rotations and pick and roll, and got himself to the free throw line a little bit. I think tonight was an example of the overall talent that Keyonte has, being able to score in a variety of ways. It's a moment where his talent's really obvious.
That's Coach Will Hardy. Let's now move on to the star of the night for the Jazz. That's Keyonte George.
Just paying attention to details as far as obviously my jump shot, but I think what's getting me in the game is, coming in the game, defensively, trying to dictate things defensively. It starts to get me in the flow. And I think just Will continuing to kind of talk to me and tell me those type of things. Like I said, helps me get in the flow, and obviously the ball was going in tonight, but just trying to stay aggressive because at the end of the day, I think when I'm aggressive and along with, all our guards, we're a good team. So just continuing to stay aggressive, continuing to stick to, what I know is best, for my game, and, it worked out tonight.
And Will's talked about you playing well in transition tonight, but also a lot of catch and shoot threes or catch and shoot shots. What's so important about catch and shoots, and why is that something that he talks to you guys about?
I mean, we work on our game so much, so you know, when he talks about that, it's just about we talk about quick decisions. So no matter what it is, catching and drive it, catching and shooting. But you know, even tonight, I had one of the best defenders in our league this year guard me. So it's just about trying to find ways to get easy ones when I'm gonna see, you know, some of these top defenders on every single team. So taking the catch and shoots, not turning them down, because at the end of the day, you don't know when you're gonna get an easy one. So continuing to shoot those, and that helps you feel like your shot at my long and my short. But it's just about, you know, getting to the next thing. So it's just about quick decisions for me, no matter what it was, and but just taking the catch and shoots every single time.
What changed in that second half when you guys went to that small ball lineup?
I just think, you know, when we're small, we had to pay more attention to rebounding. Obviously, we were small out there, but with that group, we were able to get out in transition, get out and run, scramble on defense, kind of cause, you know, some chaos for them, speed them up. You know, so we haven't played that lineup a lot, but you know, when we play that type of lineup, we able to play fast, and it gives, you know, all of us space. All of us can shoot the ball. So when we're able to, you know, pick on the matchup and get to the paint, there's so much space, and the reads are easy. So with that lineup, we just had to play fast, run, and continue to share the ball.
There's Keontae George, 35 points on 10 of 19 shooting, 7 of 13 from 3. But the Jazz fall to the Hawks, 147 to 134. Next up, the Jazz take on the Blazers on Wednesday night at Delta Center. That game will tip off at 7 o'clock.
There's the Best of the Jazz postgame show. A reminder to join Jake and Ben tomorrow from 10 to noon at Peach Windows and Doors, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake City. Check them out at peachbuildingproducts.com. All right, DJ and PK, when we come back, big wins for RSL and the Utah Hockey Club. That's coming up. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. The LA Galaxy, the defending MLS Cup champions, rolling into Utah. These were two of the top 3 teams in the West last season. They're both off to bad starts. They're both missing key guys. But you know what? Who cares about the other guys' problems? Fix your own problems. And RSL did. Diego Luna scored twice in the first half, and they got the shutout, and they won. For more, here is Emeka Eneli, RSL's captain, after the game.
Do you feel like you guys take pride in that? And is that something, do you look at that as a positive as opposed to maybe, you know, the underdog mentality of we're having to scrap? You guys get to fight and you want to fight?
Yeah, 100%. I think Pablo said it in the pregame meeting. He doesn't want to be a team like after the game where other opponents or other coaches say, oh, they're a really good footballing team. They really move it around really, really well. He wants to be a team that after we play other opponents, they go, we don't want to play against them. They kicked us the whole entire game. They fouled us the whole entire game. They didn't let us get out of our half. They're so scrappy. They win every single duel, every single second ball. And, you know, something that we've relatively had in this season so far, but I think we just took it up a notch today. And it was something that we focused on during the training week. Did really well in the training week, really, really competitive, really, really scrappy, carried it into today. And it helped us. We won our duels, very competitive in the game, and then allowed us to get the win.
Speaking of fouls, there was an early yellow on Vera and a couple early whistles, but you guys, it didn't get out of hand. How do you feel like you guys were able to maintain the mentality and the composure throughout this one and get the clean sheet as well?
Yeah, I think it's important that, you know, obviously trying to be very, very good in the duels, being very scrappy, but then having the composure when we do have the ball to keep it and relax on it. Because if you're defending, then you get into the mindset of, oh, I got to win this tackle, I got to do this duel, I got to do this duel. But then there were spells in the second half where we got onto the ball for 2-3 minutes, moved it around. It just allows everybody to calm down, you know, relax a little bit. And then when we do lose it, then we're ready to press. And I feel like if you're just pressing all out all the time, and then when you recover the ball, you're not going to be good on the ball. And we can't have that. So I think it's just really important for the whole team to try and find that right balance in being very, very scrappy, very, very competitive when we don't have the ball, making fouls when we don't have it, but then when we regain it, having the composure to, you know, switch it from side to side, make the other team move, and then to like regain our breath, regain control. And I think we did that well in the second half. I think we could have, tried to progress it a little bit more. I think we kind of became a little bit too passive, but, it's something that we're going to work on, something that we learn from, and then take it into this next week and then take it into Nashville on Saturday.
Yeah, 7 games into the season, being the captain of this team, do you feel like you have a new level of confidence as captain of the squad?
Yeah, definitely. Since being named captain, I'm one of the guys, I don't really try and, it wasn't going to change how I was as a person, how I was really going to play. I think it's just something that I've just tried to grow into the leadership role and try and, elevate others around me. And I'm learning every single day in training, in games. And I have a great group around me in the leadership group and the coaches and the rest of the team that have been pushing me as well. So it's been a learning process, but it's been fun. It's been fantastic, and something that I wouldn't trade for anything.
There's Emeka and Eneli. Now here's Diego Luna, who scored the 2 goals in the win.
Big weekend for you. Congrats on the award last night. Congrats on the brace today.
Thank you.
Can you just take us through maybe the emotions and just kind of what this weekend has been like for you?
Yeah, I think yesterday was a lot of nerves. I've never been, given a speech in front of that many people and, been awarded something like that. But also excitement, right? I think for the weekend, having my family in town as well, I think is a big weekend to have an award, have them be a part of it, and then also come into the game and, be able to score 2 goals and have them there for that and now enjoy the afternoon. I think it's a good weekend and I'm happy.
You mentioned last week the team needing to step up in training. Did you feel that this week, and was today a result of that, you think?
Yeah, this week was solely focused on us. We didn't do much scouting on Galaxy or anything like that, and it was about the competitive nature that we had in training and every day that allowed us to get this win.
Diego, congrats on the win. You seem more vocal than ever before in the field with your teammates. How much of this do you contribute to your opportunities going to the U.S. men's national team camps?
Yeah, I think you can say that it has helped me, but I think I'm still a leader that shows, with the ball at my feet and how I'm playing and how I work, right? My work rate and stuff. But, yeah, I think it's good to show, the other guys and talk to them, to help them, with their confidence or help them with their play and stuff like that. So I think it's both.
And then going into next week's game against Nashville, what can you take away from this victory against LA for next week's game?
I think we're going to continue with the competitive and the work rate. I think just put our heads down and focus on ourselves, and then hopefully I think we still need to be better in both boxes, and that's something that we'll work on this week. But I think the competitive nature is what's really going to help us and make us right, like our DNA and RSL.
Hey Diego, just kind of walk us through your goals tonight, and what did you see, and how did you find those spaces there to get it in the goal?
Yeah, I think both goals happened because I took the risk of getting into the box. 15-yard run, 15-yard sprint to get into the box. That's something that I've been working on. Even when you don't think the ball's going to get to you, to just put yourself in that position. And luckily both balls ended up, on my feet, and I was able to put it away.
Pablo kind of talked earlier about how you have grown as a player, where you will find the pass first or the assist first instead of ensuring to the goal. And today you find crucial space in that. Is that something that you emphasized this week in training? And how do you can talk about the development that you'll be having with that?
Say that again.
So Pablo talked us that you were a player at the beginning that will find the pass first instead of shooting. Yeah. So kind of tell us what has grown from that. Okay. And then today you find crucial space in there. Was that something that you walked through or worked through the week today, this week?
Yeah, I think, like I said, right, just getting into the box and putting myself in those positions allowed me to be able to have chances like that, right? I think the second goal is a prime example of that. If I don't make that run, nothing happens, right? But if I push through, the ball just ends up right there, and I'm able to tap it in. So I think that's the biggest thing for me. And, just being patient and when we're in the attacking play, staying in behind lines and making, runs and stuff like that to create space, whether it's for me or for my teammates. Yeah.
There's Diego Luna. Now here's RSL head coach Pablo Mastroeni.
Could you give us some thoughts on Katranis today? First start in about a month, and then an update on his injury they had to come off for.
Yeah, no, I thought, again, Alex had been training really well the last 2 weeks, and you just saw this moment coming to a head. So I think when preparedness meets opportunity, you get a performance like that. And I thought he was lights out today. And then as far as his injury, I haven't spoken to the trainers yet, so we'll know more this week.
You mentioned the preparedness and opportunity. It seemed like Diego, when those balls came to him in the box, he was just ready and was able to bury him. Is that just his mentality and confidence at the moment? He's just kind of primed?
Yeah, and I think, again, with Diego, I think when he got here, he was always a player that would make the pass or the pass before the assist and really unlock teams. And again, when we're not scoring goals, the important thing is that he's getting into areas where I think in that second goal, the ball gets fizzed across, and if Diego's not in that spot, those plays don't happen, And so just being opportunistic, being in great positions, and again, that's what everyone saw. What I saw was a guy that wanted to fight for the team. I saw a guy that was making slide tackles, double back pressing. I saw a guy that was just engaged and wanted to win the game tonight. To put 2 goals on top of that, I think speaks volumes of where he's going with his career. And we had one of the national team assistant coaches in town for the last couple of days, and spent some time with him. And he obviously talked to Diego, and I think it was an inspired performance. And I think he sees what lies before him if he keeps in this form. So I couldn't be happier for Diego Luna.
In soccer, we know 2-0 is the most dangerous lead. What was the talk in the locker room so you guys wouldn't give up 2 goals?
Yeah, well, I said to the guys that we've just got to we've got to come out of the gates making sure we're putting pressure on the ball. Because again, there's a psychological point to that where you think, okay, we have 2-0, let's drop off. And so I think the guys up front did a good job of putting pressure on the ball. We went to a back 5 with probably 10 minutes left in the game to kind of solidify, with just to make sure that our pivots who were starting to tire a little bit weren't chasing into corners in a low block, and so that back 5 kind of solidified that. But I think the guys coming into the game did a really good job as well, and I think that's an important piece of holding on to a lead. So, yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything, but I think the mindset, when you haven't gotten the results in the last couple of games, it's just a willingness and a desire not to concede. Defending set pieces well against a really big team. Rafa coming up trumps Larry late in the game, making a save. I mean, you need everything to not, so that was a collective team performance tonight.
And then back-to-back games with Jesus getting minutes. What have you seen in his development so far?
This young man continues to impress. I think he's very calm on the ball. He makes good soccer decisions. His technique is tidy. He's got an eye for goal, and he just needs opportunities. Again, there was a moment where we thought maybe, do we start him this week? And the truth is he's going to be a very good player. There's no two ways about it. But how we bring him along and what kind of environment, right, after 2 performances and results that didn't go our way, is this the right time to bring in a young player who's got tremendous upside? So you'll be seeing a lot more of Jesus, and he continues to impress with every training session and with every minute he gets on the field on game day.
Pablo, congrats on the win. How do you, as a coach, evaluate a performance like Diego today, especially under pressure to get a win?
For me, it's this all-around game. We're not a team that can have one player cheat. We need 11 dogs on defense, and we need 11 brave players on offense. And if I frame it like that, I think he was that player on both sides of the ball. Like his relentless pressing, his back pressing, his tackling, like those things are not for Diego Luna. Those things are for the team, right? Him showing up in the box is not for Diego Luna. That's what we need as a team. And so when I look at his performance tonight, I look at a selfless performance, a performance for the team. And if we keep getting those performances for Diego Luna, things will change really quickly for the group and Diego Luna.
Speaking of that, and the mentality and progress thing, what do you take away from this result in terms of the team mentality? You talk a little bit about it, and what's the next step moving forward in this season?
Yeah, well, again, when you're not getting results, I'll tell you what happens. The players don't have a lot of confidence, right? They start to have doubt as to what we're doing as a group. So results validate the work that we do during the week. So this week, where we typically do about 60% tactics, about 40% competing, we did 98% competing and 2% tactics, right? And so you think about how because again, mentality doesn't come about from someone speaking, a coach speaking. Mentality comes about creating a competitive environment and those guys going at it on Tuesday and Wednesday. That's where the secret sauce is, And so tonight our objective was to get them behind their outside backs, right? How you're going to do that? We have a 9, we have 2 10s, and we have wing backs in the attack. There's a million ways to do that. That's the objective. You guys go out and show me how you're going to do that. And they did that nonstop in the first half, right? So I'm going to double down on the competitive piece. Because when we're a team that competes like that just doesn't let teams walk down the middle of the field, that battles for every play, that's scrappy, that's when mentality is shown. Not when things aren't going well in offense and you hang your head and hands go up in the air. That's not mentality, right? So we're going to double down on that next week. And we have another tough opponent, but it's definitely moving in the right direction. And I guess to answer your question, how can I help is to make sure that environment is competitive on Tuesday and Wednesday so that mentality never wanes.
Pablo, great victory, great win today, great first half. Were you at all disappointed that you did not need to make 4 subs at half today?
Never done that before, and I hope I never have to do that again.
And maybe contrast the two. The first half, a lot of pressing, a lot of pressure. The second half, were you at all concerned? It seemed like there was a lack of intensity for a little bit, or is that kind of the plan?
No, I think we wanted to get after the ball in the first 5-10 minutes of the second half to make sure that they knew we weren't dropping into a low block. I think, again, if they're just going to keep the ball moving side to side, it's not really threatening to us. There's no need to open yourself up when you have that 2-0 lead. We want to be aggressive, but we want to be smart about it. And so the way the players solved that in the second half, I thought was brilliant, right? And the way we helped as coaches is going into a back 5 late in the game to make sure their 8s running don't pull our pivots out into wide channels because they're starting to wane, and we just kept a nice 5. The pivots were able to get after it. So it wasn't concerning, given that they didn't really pose that much of a threat in front of goal. So you have to choose. Do you want that real estate, or would you rather protect this real estate? And given that the last, whatever it's been, few games, we haven't defended our box well, the guys completed the task.
LA reigning MLS Cup champ, but they don't look like the same team as they were last year, and their focus probably is on Tigres and the CONCACAF Champions Cup. What can you take? Can you take a lot from this game, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good question, because really the way we talk about our team is it's us against us. When we're engaged, when we have the right mindset, when we're expressing ourselves, when we're fighting the fight, it doesn't matter who the other team is. We don't choose who comes to step on the field, but we do choose how we respond to adversity, respond to difficult moments, how we approach the game the right way. And so I don't look at the opponent. I rarely do. I look at our actions, our nonverbals, our commitment, our pressing, our attacking. So given the last few games, this was a very, very good performance against any team.
Hey, Pablo, congrats on the win.
Thanks, man.
We had a lot of rotation early in the season due to fixture congestion, and then maybe from our side, maybe somebody wasn't insisting that they be the one who start. Mm-hmm. What did you see tonight from the sideline, you and your staff, from your outside backs that we haven't seen in a bit?
Yeah, no, I thought it was really good. I thought those guys did a great job. And coming off of 2 tough results, there was also this feeling like, well, so-and-so hasn't been performing at the highest level. Let's make a change. And I feel like that's us brushing off responsibility. And our jobs is to create a cohesive, safe environment where they can make mistakes. Because if you keep rotating, then they start to look over their shoulder. They think that I can't make a mistake, and now they play tight. But I think that back four tonight was the best performance we've had all year. And again, I think the way they kept the ball out of the net, the way they minimized chances, the way they stepped up to block shots, the way they put out fires, I think speaks for itself.
Agree. And not to single someone out, but Vera played over 90 minutes on a yellow card against.
Yeah, I know where you're going with that, because I'm thinking the same thing you are. That's growth. That's growth. Yeah.
And just so in his head, for someone that has had maybe a propensity for a bad yellow in the past, what have you and the coaching staff been working on him this offseason, but also what did you say to him at halftime so that you could leave him out there?
And I think, again, where this coaching staff comes in, I think James and Olave, being Colombian, has a really good connection with Vera. And it's been a personal project of his to mentor him, right? To teach him about the different consequences of decisions. And he works with them every single day, video every day, mentorship, life every day, how to be a better pro every day. And so really credit to Olave for that's a tough one. There's a lot of guys you can mentor but he's a tough guy. And what makes him so unique is that he's a fiery guy and he's not scared of anything. But to be able to get a yellow card early in the game and maintain a very good level and not get a red card, again, this is growth. This is growth.
Hey, Pablo, just to go back to something you mentioned earlier about Jesus Pereira. He came in today for Diogo, and you mentioned earlier that you thought about maybe starting him this week. Mm-hmm. Who would he be replacing in the starting 11 if he were to have started?
Well, he also plays up front, right? So last year in college, he was a 9. And so he can play up front. And whilst he doesn't have the top end speed, you'd think you'd need to get in behind. His movement and timing of his movement is very, very good. And so the way we were thinking about it was maybe Jesus up front with Diego and Diogo underneath. And then the three of them speak the same technical football language. So it looked a little bit different than it did today. But that's definitely a position where he can play.
Okay, and then another question that might not be your specific field, but do you know the transfer window's closing soon? Is there any news of any signings or rumors that you can give us?
Trust me, I'm with you. We've been working hard to identify players. The one thing, especially when you're looking internationally, there's a lot of things that have to align themselves, right? There's got to be a willing player. There's got to be a club willing to part with the player. And then obviously personal terms on the player. So there's a lot of things that have to align. And this is why I think it's taken a bit of time. It's not from a lack of trying to get there. But again, as a club, we've identified that we need 1 or 2 more attacking players to really make this thing whole and create a real competition up front to drive this group forward. So we're looking. I wish I could give you there's nothing yet, but there is work being done that hopefully we'll get 1 or 2 before the close of the window.
Diogo was really good in the build-up to the first goal, but he did have that chance where he was in behind one-on-one with the keeper, and that's got to bug a guy like him. How do you address that with him? If you do, what do you say?
Yeah, you know what? I don't really address that, because the player knows, he feels it a lot worse than I do. I want him to score that. And you imagine for him, he's chomping at the bit to get on the score sheet and, because he's doing a lot of great things between the boxes. It's just that final piece. And listen, he's got experience. He's played on some clubs that have been in Champions League games. He knows how important those moments are. But again, I'm grateful that we have great teammates that cover up for that moment and by scoring goals and making plays.
flipping he and Diego, that puts Diego in a position to score that second goal. And also, I thought Diego and Catranas were combining well. So did you like what you saw as far as that? Is that something you probably see more of?
Yeah, I think, and the thought of mine before going into the game is if it didn't look really good, we can always switch Diego and Diogo back. Because what Diogo does is on the chance he got, he makes really good runs behind the defense. He really does. So I think those two players are interchangeable, which I think is a good thing maybe to throw, because their styles are a little bit different, where Diego's more crafty 1v1, where Diogo's more of a combination type player. So I think moving forward, again, it'd be silly to change it now, but just something to have in the back pocket where both those guys can play both positions is really cool.
When we come back, the Utah Hockey Club beating the best team in the NHL. That's next. Stay with us. DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Good morning, DJ and PK. Proudly presented by our title sponsor, Black Desert Resort, Utah's premier golf resort. Well, the Utah Hockey Club gets the win. They beat the Winnipeg Jets, who have the most wins in the NHL, the most points in the NHL, but they beat them twice this year. Got them 4-1 last night. They end up splitting 4 games head-to-head with the Jets. 2 wins, 2 losses. For more, Adrian Denny with the recap.
DJ and PK, the Utah Hockey Club entered Saturday with the best record in the National Hockey League, but they would leave with a 4-1 defeat handed to them by the Utah Hockey Club as Winnipeg goes 0-2 at Delta Center this season. Utah got the scoring started early on the power play. It'd be Clayton Keller giving Utah a 1-0 lead.
Faceoff is won by the Jets, but controlled by Utah. Shot across, and they score! There's the power play lurching back into gear. And it's the captain, Clayton Keller, putting Utah in front.
So Utah, who had a goal disallowed 1:25 into the first period on Thursday against LA and were scoreless after one period despite outshooting the Kings 16-3. They get one to stick here 7 seconds into the power play situation. Then they killed a penalty that came just 30 seconds after the goal. Karel Vejmelka was in a zone as usual on Saturday. He stopped 32 of 33. In the second period, back on the power play, Barrett Hayton makes it 2-0.
With Keller all the way across, tap towards the front, backhander, they score! Tic-tac-toe! Power play goal for Utah!
19th of the year for Hayton from Gunther and Keller. 19th multiple point game of the year for Clayton Keller. His 500th career point, becoming the 4th fastest member of the 2016 NHL entry draft class to get it. Austin Matthews, Matthew Tkachuk, and Alex DeBrincat the others as the career year continues for Utah captain Clayton Keller. Kevin Stenlund, the former Winnipeg Jet, would make it 3-0 late in the second.
Stenlund steps right back in, shoots from distance, and scores! Picture perfect from Kevin Stenlund! And it's 3-0 against the league's best.
After a Winnipeg power play goal and after they got 6 of the first 7 shots in the third, Andre Tourigny at a media timeout in the final frame got the guys back and going. They reset, took the momentum back away from Winnipeg, and Nick Bjugstad found an empty net with 2:41 left.
6 on 5. Kyle Connor shoots, tipped off a stick. Stenlund outlets for Bjugstad at the empty net. Bingo! Nick Bjugstad hits the empty net, and it's 4-1.
So going from the second best goalie in the league in Darcy Kemper on Thursday to the best goalie in the league in Connor Hellebuck on Saturday, Utah kept the pressure going and found a way to get the victory here. 11-4-3 in their last 18 at home as they've tied a season high 5 games above 500 at 35-30 and 12 with a big win in Game 3 of the 5-game homestand. Let's hear from head coach Andre Tourigny. Caught up with him after the game.
Was really solid, but I think as a team we played really solid. I think in the third we got on our heels a little bit, but I won't let that reflect on our game because we play against a really good team and we play a hell of a game, and I'm really proud of the guys.
How important were special teams tonight with power play and penalty kill?
Both are really good. You know, their power plays excellent. So the way our PK play, but our power play produced, but more than that, they gave us momentum. They played the attack. They were on their toes, and they played really solid. I think Cal's play not just in the power play, five play rock solid game. I think captain showed up huge in the big game.
What do you learn about your team when they play like the top team in the league?
Well, I like I like the fact we're not scared. We're taking it the right way. We're okay. Let's get at it, and we won that, and we believe in ourselves, and we believe we have no complex against those teams. I think we beat Winnipeg twice this year. How we played against Dallas, how we played against LA, how we played against Colorado. All those games are hard-fought games. So I think that showed the character of our team and the leadership in our team, and that's why we love our team.
How's John Marino doing?
He's doing like a guy who got a puck in the face, but I have no update.
Okay. The other question I had is just, it seems like you guys are really, you like the home ice advantage now. Like it's earlier in the season.
We liked it all the time. We always liked it. It's just we're dealing with it better now. But even then, it's the best league in the world, and that's a really good team on the other side. So I said to you this morning, I said, we're not deciding everything on there. The team on the other side, they have a say on what's going on. So I think they're a good team. They had a push, but great effort. Stanley's line playing against Shifley all night long did a phenomenal job. Good job. I think I can go on and on, but a lot of guys in our team played really, really good.
When the crowd's into it like that, what does it do for you guys?
What does that do for you? Do you like it? Well, imagine us. We're jacked. That's great.
Is the Milka surprising you in any way by the way he's played?
They're surprising. I want to make sure I say it right. I'm really proud of him. I said that before. It's fantastic for him to go through that kind of a stretch because, okay, I'm tired. I had the opportunity in my life to coach with a goalie who was not that bad, kind of one of the best in the history of the league. And, he was talking about when you're in the playoff, you need to be able to play tired and to bounce back from a bad performance and just erase that from your memory. I gave up 8 last game. Well, who cares? Now it's a new day. And he said early in his career, he had to learn that. And at the end of his career, whatever is the shutout last game or if it's 6 goal against, did not bother him for the next game. So what Veg is going through that right now, it's great because he got a stretch where he got tired and he got over it and he performed. He bounced back after a tough game in Tampa. Next game he was our best player, etc., etc. So he will always have that to fall back on from now on. So that's huge.
There are a lot of players on the team setting new career highs in goals, assists, points, whatever. What do you think is the main reason for all that success?
Because we're young. So now they're growing up and they're getting in their prime and they're going. I think we have a lot of great player. What Cal's achieved today show how talented he is, and he's still a young guy and getting at that level. But he's getting better every day. Like I said it earlier, but the way he showed up today and the way he fought, and again, a heavy team like Winnipeg doesn't bother him at all.
You just touched on it, but how have you seen Clayton develop his game when you've been his head coach?
Oh boy, it's 4 years now. We've been through a lot. We've been through. We start from the bottom and we improve. He impressed me, or where I'm most proud of him is as a human being, the way he matured, the teammate he became. He always been a good teammate, but now he's captain. He's great, and the way he can take the good and the bad and make the best out of it, learn from his mistake. Always a student. He's the kind of guy who will send me a text or an article or a video of either another sports or another team, and he always want to learn. So he's becoming a great man.
Regardless of what else is going on in the league in terms of this playoff push, with the group's ability to control what they can control and lock in on that mindset, especially this late What does that tell you about this team?
They don't want to hear anything. They just want to play and play good. So they're locked in. They're straight on what we have to do and play and win games, and that's it. They're the easiest team to coach in the league right now. They're tuned in. They're locked in. We just need to lay the plan, and they're tuned in. So they're great.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
So Utah outscores the Jets 9-3 at Delta Center this year. They beat them 5-2 on January 20th, 4-1 on Saturday. The Jets were coming into the contest on Saturday off of a 4-0 shutout victory against Vegas on Thursday night. Let's hear from Captain Clayton Keller on this victory as well. Heard from him post-game on Saturday.
Let's start with the 500 career NHL points. What do you think about that stat, obviously, for yourself?
Yeah, it's cool. I honestly had no idea coming into the game, so I was a bit surprised. But yeah, lots of hard work, sacrifice, so many people in my life. Sacrifice for me to get to this level, so just super thankful for everything that they've done for me and my teammates, coaches. There's so many people that have, like I said, helped me get to where I'm at, so it's cool, and I still feel like I have a lot more to give, and I'm just getting started, so it's cool, and yeah, I'll enjoy it.
What can you say about the effort this team put out there tonight against the number 1 ranked team in the league?
Yeah, I thought we had, a good start. We played with a lot of speed. They're, like you said, a great team, tough to play against. They have great players. So, yeah, I was proud of, the way we fought kind of the whole game. The third maybe got away from us a little bit, but Veggie was unreal as usual, kept us in the game, made key saves at the right times, and yeah, it's a good feeling to win at home.
And special teams seem to have a lift tonight. What did you see from all those units out there on the ice?
Yeah, I think it was good. Like you said, I think maybe the power play had been struggling a little bit. But, I think that's, how you get better is, when you struggle, you learn from it. You watch the video, you break it down a little bit more, and, you simplify. And I think we just had a, attack mindset tonight. We finished when we had the opportunities, and we worked away from the puck, so I think that's, a key for us.
Barrett Hayton moved back up to your unit on the power play. Just how valuable is he in front of the net for you guys? Yeah,
he's, he's such an underrated player. He does everything so well. I've said it before, the things that, the average fan wouldn't realize, but everyone in this locker room realizes it. Yeah, he does, all the little things, goes to the tough areas. He's in front. He wins those battles, and, he's always going to look for you and get it on my stick or, someone else's. So it's been good to have him for sure.
Is it a coincidence that you're having a career year in assists the same year that you're the captain?
I don't know.
That you become the captain?
I don't know. I never thought about it like that. It's just doing everything I can to help this team win, get everything I have every single day, and never quitting until the year's over.
Coach said this morning that this game against Winnipeg was kind of a measuring stick for you guys. Just how do you think it's shown your progression the way that you were able to play them tonight as a team? Yeah, I think it's, we've had some good battles with some teams. But yeah, I think, when you play the best teams, that's when you want to play your best. And, I think we have learned this year just different situations, maybe before we would have, backed up, in the second period, third period, kind of maybe let them get into the game, or even when we had breakdowns, it seemed like, during the TV timeouts and everything, we kind of calmed down. Bear did a great job as well. So, yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction. I think, we're still learning every single game. Just how hard it is to win, and you have to do it every night. It's the best league in the world, and, those little mistakes can, be the difference in a win or a loss.
How did it feel to get the power play back on track tonight?
Yeah, I think it, like I said, it felt good. We, maybe emphasized it a little bit more in practice, video, watched kind of clips that made it successful. Fowles does a great job of kind of breaking down, teams in zone, their forecheck, things like that. But yeah, I think we finished our chances. We won some battles, and, we were connected, and I think that, made the difference for us.
Thanks, Keller.
So Karel Vejmelka, in his 20th straight start, longest in the NHL in over 6 years, turns aside 32 of 33 as he took a shutout into the final period of play. Winnipeg scoring on their 21st shot, 2:45 into the third period. We told you the former Jet, Kevin Stenlund, got a big one against his former team. Kind of put this one out of reach. 2-0 to 3-0 late in the second. Post-game thoughts from number 82 as well.
When you guys beat the best-ranked team in the league twice at home, what does that do for this group in terms of confidence of how you guys can play?
I mean, it shows us how good of a team we are. When we play the right way, play our way. It was a good game.
Overall assessment of how that game progressed, especially with the third period push from the Winnipeg Jets.
I mean, I think they pushed a bit in the early, but I think we controlled it pretty well. They got one goal, and I think they had some chances, but not much.
What was working well in the penalty kill to only allow one against the second best power play in the league?
I don't know. We try to put pressure on them, stay hard, and get clears 200 feet. We did a good job there.
Is it gratifying to put up 2 points against one of your former teams and also to walk away with the win?
I'll take the points and the win. It was a great team effort. It was all fun.
You've had a few of those snipes lately. What's your assessment of your shot?
I got to hit the net more. That was a good shot.
What's it been like working with that penalty kill unit, Kerfoot, Cole, Sergachev this season, just as it's progressed?
I mean, they're all really good players, smart players. Makes it easy for myself. We're a good team out there.
What's it like to shoot on Connor Hellebuck?
I mean, he's a good goalie. Nothing too fancy, but just got to get traffic and bodies in front of him. Good goalie.
What's it like to score on him?
Obviously fun.
Is your chemistry with Kerfoot and Bukestad at all-time high?
I guess. I don't know. We feel good about ourselves. We play well right now, so I'll say so.
Was it nice to see Bukestad? I know it was an empty netter, but just the chances he's gotten lately to bury one at the end there.
Yeah, I was happy for him. He deserved a goal. I'm happy he got one.
So that first goal that Utah got in this game, 4:24 to the first, it was a big one in the season series. The home team won each game, and the team that scored first never relinquished that lead. That would be the case at Delta Center on Saturday as well. Utah, since allowing 8 goals to Tampa Bay back about 10, 11, 12 days ago, they have allowed just 9 goals in their last 5 games. And Winnipeg coming into tonight, second best power play in the National Hockey League. Utah goes 2 for 3 on the power play and 3 for 4 on the penalty kill to take control of this one. Utah will be back home on Tuesday. Tomorrow night, a 7 p.m. face-off with Seattle. Thursday, the regular season home finale against Nashville.
A reminder to join Hans and Scotty tomorrow from noon to 3 at My Hearing Centers at 8941 South, 700 East in Sandy. All right, we're going to take a break right now. When we come back, what is trending, the Final Four, the Jazz. It's all coming up next. Stay with us.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag Utah Jazz.
Top to Key, trailing for 3. Got it. 10th best transition three-point shooter in the NBA, Keontae George. And he hit that one. Collier bursting the lane. Goes to the left-hand layup, gets it blocked off the glass. Flying in is his Georgia mate, Colin Sexton, who lays it up and in. Left side, Collier's back in the game despite leaving with an injury earlier. Gives to Key, right corner 3 is good. And a career-high 35 for Keontae George.
And despite all that, despite the fact they scored 134 points, the Utah Jazz lost comfortably because of the defensive end. It was atrocious. They gave up 41 points in the first quarter, 40 in the second, 38 in the third, and they lost 147-134. And you take a team that's bad defensively and you take away most of the size, you take away Walker Kessler's shot blocking, well, you got a team that's going to give up 140 points or more. Again, 3 games in a row now, PK. Like clockwork, this defense, or lack thereof, is going to keep them with the worst record in the league and keep them on 16 wins.
I got you, babe. I got you, babe. Wasn't that the song in Groundhog Day?
Yep.
Yeah. They say our love won't pay the rent. That's what we got going on.
We got Groundhog Day.
Only got a what? 4 more times? 3 more times?
You could just ignore it, and there could be no more times.
I can't ignore the Jazz. That
That
goes
was-
against my very fiber of my being.
That was game 79. You got 3 more games to endure. And then it is all over. Portland, Wednesday night, Oklahoma City Friday. These are the last 2 home games of the year coming up this week.
I would challenge that it's only just begun.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. The 2025-26 campaign might look a lot like this one. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
Left side, Green three-pointer, swish! Rockets up by 13. Jalen Green with his 3rd triple and 19 for the game.
Luka, scoop, score! Kisses it high off the window.
High off the window.
Centers it to Nembhard. Nembhard, strong drive, right side, pull up 15 feet away, and Nembhard with 19 points has given the Pacers a 4-point lead with 72 seconds remaining.
And the Pacers beat the Denver Nuggets 125-120. Denver, 4 straight losses. Denver now just a half game up on 4 other teams. They could end up in the play-in. They could end up in a 4-5 series. There's no telling what's going to happen in the final week. They need
I really
Murray
don't
back.
think they care.
Yeah, Murray. They need Murray back. He's out with a hamstring. So.
Right, their objective is to be healthy in 2 weeks. That's all that matters for them. They're not interested in any standings. That's for other people. That's for guys like you who look at the standings every day. You know, they don't really care.
The Lakers blew out Oklahoma City 126-99. Doncic 30 points, 7 boards, 6 assists. The Lakers sitting in 3rd in the West. Looks like that's probably about where LeBron and Luka are going to end up finishing. As I look at the standings every day.
I mean, you do, and that's important to you for some reason. The Lakers are dangerous, man. They've got 3 guys. I mean, you put Reeves in that list too as being very capable. You know, you'd never want him to be your lead guy, but he's not. He's at best your 3rd guy. Some nights he can move up if the other guys are not hitting the shots or whatever. But they're dangerous. I don't like their bench, but they're dangerous.
After having a nice stretch where they played almost 500 ball over 20 games, the Washington Wizards are suddenly taking this losing thing seriously. They've lost 10 out of 12. Tatum sat in Boston. It didn't matter. The Celtics rolled 124-90 over the Wizards. They've got 4 games left, but too little too late from the Wizards, it looks like, sitting on 17 wins with the Jazz sitting on 16 wins with 3 games to go. The race for the worst record in the NBA. Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, Billy Donovan, Sue Bird, Maya Moore, and former NBA referee Danny Crawford are headed to the Basketball Hall of Fame along with the 2008 U.S. Redeem Team that won gold in Beijing. They will be inducted into the Hall later this year. Nobody that really surprises you, do they? Maybe Dwight Howard a little bit?
I don't know what the criteria is for that Basketball Hall of Fame, so I don't really pay much attention to it.
It's all over the map. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college basketball.
Joyce Edwards will throw it in, and that's it. Connecticut is back on top for the 12th time in school history. The first since 2016. The Connecticut Huskies are national champions. The 9-year wait is over for Gino Auriemma. Win number 1,250 in his career brings him national title number 12.
UConn beats South Carolina 82-59, and UConn gets their first championship since 2016. And we've had a lot of dynasties in women's college basketball. PK, you've talked about how the top players seem to be content to play together, and it makes the best teams unbeatable. That pool has widened a little bit. 6 of the last 7 titles now won by different schools. South Carolina's won twice in that span, but there's a few more schools passing that championship around now.
Well, because there's way more talent than there was. The women's basketball, in terms of overall talent, is growing all the time.
Men's championship game tonight, the Florida Gators and the Houston Cougars. Duke had it until suddenly they didn't. What a comeback for Houston.
Yeah, well, man, they couldn't get the ball in, missed a free throw. Bad call by the referee on the flag foul. There was a million bad calls, whatever, but that was a crucial call at the time. And they tripped all over themselves. Couldn't score a field goal. I knew once Houston got the lead, and then you're going to need to score on one possession. That is just like handing a steak to a pit bull or something.
Houston knew their mission. We need one stop, and stops are what we do.
Right. Yeah, you knew it was going to be hard. And then they made the flag fade back just a little bit, and obviously missed a shot. What a ball game, man! You got to give it up to Houston for sure.
Title game tonight. It will tip off at 6:50. You can listen to the game here on The Zone. Utah forward Ezra Sir entered the NCAA transfer portal of the weekend, joining a number of his teammates. Former Utah guard Monroe Little announced his commitment to play for UC Santa Barbara. All right, go Gauchos. Go live life in the Thunderdome in the Big West. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
Colorado Buffaloes coach Deion Sanders telling reporters after the Buffaloes Pro Day event that Travis Hansen and Shedeur Sanders, quote, should be going 1-2. That's the way I feel about it.
Travis Hansen going number 2, huh?
Travis Hansen. Wrong Travis. Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders should be going 1-2. That's the way I feel about it. They're the two best players in the draft. The surest bets in this draft are those two young men, and I didn't stutter or stammer when I said that. Ain't nobody like Travis. And yet, it looks like Cam Ward will go 1. They may end up going 2-3, though. That wouldn't be a surprise. Dolphins starting left tackle Terron Armstead announced his retirement after 12 seasons. He's been Miami starter for the past 3 years with 2 Pro Bowls after a long run with the Saints. So, 12 years in the NFL. It's a good long run. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
Here we go. 2 of Cal's largest athletic donors will no longer contribute to the California Legends Collective, the program's large third-party NIL establishment, until new general manager Ron Rivera is given full control of the football program. They want Rivera to be in control, like what Stanford has done, giving GM Andrew Luck full power. We've talked about this, PK. Some GMs report to the coach. That's the structure at University of Utah basketball with the change with Alex Jensen. But other places, the GM's over the coach, like in pro sports. And 2 of Cal's donors, they want Ron Rivera in charge. So now they will wrestle with the administration and go.
So did Ron Rivera play at Cal?
Yeah. He's Cal alum.
Okay.
And they love him. And they want him to have all the
careful on
power.
that, man. That doesn't mean you know how to run a football program just because you were a famous player there.
True story. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Vesia deals in the pitch. Blasted high and deep left field, and that is gone. Castellanos greets Vesia with his 8th career grand slam, and it's a 6-2 Phillies lead.
The pitch, swinging the ground ball into right center field, base hit, and here comes Matos around third, and the ball game is over. Pour out of the dugout. They're on the field jumping on the back of their teammate Wilmer Flores out between the pitcher's mound and second base.
Giants beat the Mariners 5-4. They get the walk-off win. With an 8-1 record, they have the best mark in all of Major League Baseball. An outstanding start for the Giants. All the hype for the Padres and Dodgers, and certainly there's still forever to go, an entire summer to play. But nonetheless, 8-1's got to turn a few heads, PK.
Oh, man. I mean, you could only do one game better after 9 games.
Dodgers suffered their second loss of the year. You heard that there. Nick Castellanos hit a go-ahead grand slam for Philadelphia, and the Phillies beat the Dodgers 8-7. Padres and Cubs played a wild one, and the Padres walk it off. The error turning the double play ground ball. That's the winning run score in the 9th. Padres get through it 8-7, the final. And the Rangers walk it off. They beat the Rays 4-3. Texas is off to an 8-2 start. Looking Awesome over with the American League's best record, looking awesome over in the AL West. Bees beat the Albuquerque Isotopes 9-8 in their series finale. They split the 6-game series 3-3. Bees are off today. Tomorrow, the home opener. The first game in the ballpark at America First Square. The Reno Aces Tuesday night. Ready for a little minor league baseball history in South Jordan, PK?
Oh, sure, yeah. It's a monumentous day, for sure. Monumental, whatever word you want to use there, man. It's going to be the first game in the new park. Absolutely. Big deal.
You'll hear that game tomorrow night right here on The Zone. DJ and PK.
#golf.
Brian Harmon winning the Valero Texas Open by 3 shots. Finishes at 9 under. Patrick Fishburne, local guy, rallying the final day. Ties for 5th, 4 under par.
It's like a 105-foot eagle putt.
Yeah, that thing rolled forever, right? And then Tony Finau made the cut thanks to a hole-in-one, but finished it tied for 56 at 5 over. And now, on to a little tournament they call the Masters. Bob Casper, Brian Taylor will be joining us all week long from Augusta.
They on today?
Doing a start tomorrow? Yep. Most of the week, 80% of the week, right here on The Zone. DJ and PK.
#RSL.
Back to Catranos, pops into the area for Diogo. Diogo battling. Diogo fighting to Catranos in the box. Cuts it back to the penalty spot. Luna shoots. Luna scores. And RSL has the lead. They're waiting for more guys to get forward. Here comes Diogo. Now Catranos up the left side. Into the final third. Into the area for Piol. Piol cuts it towards the spot. Luna scores. Oh, a poor clearance by LA. And they left it for Luna, who banged it into the back of the net. He scored twice. And RSL leads 2-0 in the 26th minute. And that ends up being the final score as a couple of teams that were really good last year, 2 of the top 3 teams in the West, off to bad starts this year. And RSL takes advantage of the shorthanded Galaxy. Nobody cares about your problems. Take the loss and go home. Needed a win. Needed 3 points. And Pablo Mastroeni and the guys get it. They'll head to Nashville this weekend. Diego Luna with his 2nd and 3rd goals of the year.
I hate it when they fail to make a good clearance.
Yeah, there it is. Teed it right up for him. Bad mistake. Ugly looking, but so what? Punish the other team's mistakes, and Diego Luna did. DJ PK.
#NHL.
Right side to Wilson, centered up. Ovechkin has it. He scores! He scores! Alex Ovechkin scores 895. There's a new goal-scoring champion, and his name is Alexander Ovechkin. He has done it here on Long Island. His teammates mob him. There is but one. Alexander the Great, the greatest to ever do it in National Hockey League history.
Ovechkin, goal number 895, breaks Wayne Gretzky's career goal-scoring record. Did it on the road, sounded like a home game. The New Yorkers, the Islander fans, very happy to witness hockey history. And plus, their team won 4-1.
Man, that guy was excited.
Utah Hockey Club excited. They beat the Winnipeg Jets 4-1. Jets with the most wins in the league, best record, highest point total in the league, and the Utah Hockey Club splits 4 games with them head-to-head, winning 2, losing 2. So a nice win for Utah, and they now get a couple of days off. They're off yesterday, they're off today, and Tuesday, tomorrow night, Seattle will be here at the Delta Center for the next to last. What's the big fancy word for next to last, PK? Penultimate home game of the season. They have a little problem, a little sleepless in Seattle. Can't seem to beat the Kraken.
Not yet. 0-2.
Got a better record against Winnipeg than Seattle. Go figure. Seattle next to last in the Pacific Division right now. They will try one more time tomorrow night. Now on 82 points, Utah Hockey Club racking them up here at the end of the season. What is trending? Brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Coming up, Steve Cleveland, former BYU basketball coach. We'll talk NCAA title game tonight. He'll join us at 8 o'clock. Steve Bartle, Ute insider for The Zone. Alex Jensen to Utah. Spring football underway with the Utes. Plenty to talk about. We will talk with Steve Bartle at 9:05 this morning. DJ and PK, the question of the day is next.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Greatest era in BYU basketball and football. BYU's football team, who finished their Big 12 play at 7-2. They finished the season 11-2. And now this BYU team goes to the Sweet 16 the very same year, their second year in the Big 12. And because I started to think, okay, what are the great years of BYU basketball? You go straight to Danny Ainge in 1981.
BYU was coming off a great year in 1979, and all of a sudden Jim McMahon's their quarterback. The guy's a star, but they pull off the Miracle Bowl win. Danny Ainge leads BYU to the Elite Eight. One shining moment, you know where that all really started? The 1981 NCAA tournament. One of the reasons why we have what we have today was because of what Danny Ainge did. That year, to me, with the star power of Jim McMahon and Danny Ainge, combined with what those teams accomplished on the field/court, puts them number one.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Don't miss your chance to win big every week on The Zone. This week on Win Ticket Wednesday, you can win tickets to see Counting Crows August 21st at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. Don't miss Counting Crows, the Complete Suites Tour with special guest, the Gaslight Anthem. Get tickets now at livenation.com or listen to The Zone all day Wednesday for your chance to win. Question of the morning. What should Egor Demin do? Bum, bum, bum. Stay at BYU, go to the NBA, decisions. Andrew says if he's a top 25 pick, he needs to go. Do not risk the chance of getting hurt next season. Get that multi-year contract while the getting is good, Andrew says. Jared doesn't draw the same line, PK. Go if he's top 15. If he's slotted to fall lower than that, go back and throw lobs to Kata and AJ. It'll be like Lob City. Gary says, well, if he's enjoying the college experience at BYU and he stays another year, I think he'll benefit in his development and the program. And Randy says, stay at BYU one more year, work on his shooting, and improve his draft status. So the full range of advice. Easy for us to say, we don't have to see the future and figure it out and have millions of dollars riding on the decision.
Millions of dollars riding on the decision. See, that's where I'm not sure. You're acting like if he chooses A, he could get more money. If he chooses B, whatever, I think the money will be the same. That was what was told to me before the season. If BYU can make up the difference, then they have a good chance to keep him there. If they can't, then he goes. So I don't know that the money is going to be that much of a factor because I think the money's going to be there. It's like with old DeBonsa. The money was going to be there no matter where he chose. It wasn't an issue of choosing A, B, or C for a money decision. And whichever option he chose, he was going to get that money. So he chose BYU from beyond the money. Now, the amazing thing is that BYU was there with the money that's available if he had gone to whichever school that was second or third or whatever. I think he listed as 4 or 5. I don't know that they were in order. And in recruiting, it doesn't really matter because you can only go to one place, right? So I think it's the same thing with Egor. If he decides to stay, it's because the money will be the same. And if it's not, then that's where he's got a decision to make.
Well, the money in the first year, yes, we've heard that story. You've said it. It is definitely out there. Other people have been repeating it and saying it. So I mean that. But the money is also you get the multi-year deal in the NBA, and you get to the next contract with massive money a year earlier. So while the short-run money will look pretty similar, the long-run money could be different. And the risk of injury and all that. I mean, you can get insurance, I suppose, to cover a little bit of that. So the other thing to assess then is how good is the next draft class? How much could you improve your stock? Or if you're happy, there's no messing with happy. The money's going to be enormous either way. So if the money is a push in his mind anyway, then what makes you happy? Don't mess with happy.
I think he's fine if he comes back. I don't think he's going to be hurting for money if he comes back. I don't see this as a money decision. As long as BYU can do it, and if you go back to the statement, you will not outbid us, then you have to assume that yes, it will be the same. They'll be where they need to be financially to retain his services. And I don't know if he has to worry about the draft class. That's what you start worrying about. That stuff, you're sending a message to yourself: I'm not good enough, and there's better players than me. And once you go down that road, then I don't want you anyway. I want you coming in thinking that you should have been drafted number 1, that you're the best player, blah blah blah. Any sign of weakness just sets up red flares to me. So I wouldn't be concerned about that if I were him. Go be better than whomever. And you're drafted 1, 2, 3, 4. Who knows? To me, at that point for him, it's what situation do you get in rather than where are you drafted. If you're drafted 6th or 5th or 3rd or 7th, I'd be more concerned about what do they have to offer me rather than somebody else who's in high school right now is better than me, or some foreign kid, what have you. And yeah, sure, he can use a development. Everyone can. There's no such thing as a finished product as a freshman in college. It doesn't work that way. I don't think there ever was, nor will there ever be. So certainly, if you like where you're at and you feel like they can help develop your game, then yeah, for sure, stay and develop your game. There's no negative there in developing your game. And the difference being, a thing that I think that is most important, rather than next year's draft or rather than if I break my face and I can never play again, those are all negative things. Where can I develop myself at a higher level? Can it be in the NBA where they got 42 assistant coaches, but they don't spend a whole lot of time practicing? And the naivete and all that stuff of college is out the window. We had Jeff Judkins on talking about Mike Doliak calling him and basically saying, compared to college, this isn't any fun. Because nobody hangs out together, and a college team is just that. It is a college team with a bunch of college kids, and you're all relatively in the same environment, but I mean the same, what am I looking for? Just the same age gap, basically. You're all together, and there's not a huge difference there. And in the NBA, there could literally be 15-year difference, and guys with 3 and 4 kids and whatnot, and real-life problems that they're dealing with that 19-year-olds don't have to deal with, right? We know all that. But where can he best develop? And if he feels like, well, Kevin Young and his guys is where I can develop so I can be better next year, when I get to June of 26, where will I be a better player? Going to BYU or going to the NBA? Those are things that I think are significant in his decision-making.
We've heard players say that, and we've heard coaches say the best place to develop to be good in the NBA is in the NBA. But there are also people who say, well, I'm not getting better because I don't get to play. You can only do so much getting better with drills. Yeah. And obviously, there's a little bit of risk in getting drafted. He's being projected. The last 4 mock drafts I had him, I saw he's 11, he's 14, he's 15, he's 17. So if he's somewhere in the second 10, you start getting with good teams, how many minutes are going to be available. Maybe there's pressure to win and make the playoffs, and the coach wants to play veterans, not rookies.
Right.
So weigh all that. If you think you're
it worked out great.
If you think you're going to the Knicks, you got a coach who likes to play 5 veterans and use the bench as little as possible.
It worked out great for Collier and Filipowski.
They
couldn't
minutes.
ask for anything more this season. 2 guys, late first, early second. And in terms of PT and getting out there and developing your game, I don't think there's any way possible that you could argue, man, they would have developed more if they had stayed in college over there at SC. And Duke, who knows if Collier would have stayed at SC, but you get the point. He would have still been in college somewhere else. It seems like he's made massive developments in the NBA, right? Just, I don't know that it could have gone any better for the young fellow. And Philip Fowski established himself and say, I got some NBA skill here, right? I belong in this league. To what degree? Well, that remains to be seen for both of them, because no matter what they did, if they didn't have Cody Williams, does he belong in the NBA? I'm not sure. But he'll have opportunities to prove it. The other two, I think they've proved it. They can play in the NBA. What's their role, whatnot. So that worked out. But you don't know what it's going to be like. You'll have if he goes through the process, which maybe he should do, because you can take your name out and all that stuff. We've seen that. That's a good rule. Allows the kids to see where they're at, what they need to do, and then maybe he'd have a better idea of, say, 5 or 6 teams that might draft him. So my guess, my instinct, if BYU comes up with the cash, and this is a guess, no one's told me this, Travis Hansen has said publicly that don't rule out him returning. I'm right there with Travis.
I think the reason to lean that way is there's so much conversation about this so early on, right? Literally before he plays a game. It feels like when that's in the back of your mind, or maybe it's even in the front of their mind, it seems awfully early to consider that, and it makes it seem, to me anyway, like it's a more real possibility. And saying that, you can't guarantee anything, because one NBA team, we love you, we're going to pick you here, here's your future, you can see why that would get someone to go. We're going to pick you with the 8th pick in the draft or whatever. Somebody says something like that, and we don't even know who's going to draft 8th at this point. But if somebody says something like that, that might get him to go. But it does seem like early on they were already thinking, everyone else is talking one and done, but we're not. We're already trying to figure out how to get you
guys.
Yeah, right.
He literally said it to Young. Young has known all along what the deal is. This was told to me in October. The season hadn't even started yet. It was literally told to me at a golf course in October. Here's the deal.
That's where you go for all your best sports information. The golf course. Somewhere around hole 12, people are more willing to talk. There's actually a logic to it.
Well, remember when I came in the day after Cinco de Mayo and said the Jazz are going to blow it up?
Yep.
That was told to me in a parking lot of a restaurant.
Second best place. Golf course number 1. Restaurant parking lot number 2.
It's the location of where you get the information is just
fun,
sort of happenstance.
But fun.
Yeah, I know. I throw it out there.
It's better than getting it over the phone or a text. That's kind of boring, Because away,
it was face-to-face.
What restaurant?
I don't want to say.
Were you somewhere watching a game? And
I don't want to say.
Look who's in the parking lot.
I am very particular. You never give up anybody. You just don't. And it sends the message that, hey, that ugly dude over there, I can trust him. And that is the most important thing to me in 40 years in this business, is that somebody, whether you like me or not, or whether I like you or not, it doesn't matter. That has no bearing, because I've had people that I know don't really like me that much still tell me stuff, so I understand what's going on, and they know without a shadow of a doubt that will never, ever reveal. The information can be disseminated, but the person or persons telling me that understand it is good here, and there's so much stuff. I've actually forgotten a ton of information that has been said to me now over these long years, right? But that's the point. And that was told to me before the season started, which I think, in my mind, the reason why I've repeated it so often, because I absolutely believe it was true. Because the kid hadn't played a game yet, right? Mm-hmm. We always saw him maybe some clips and whatnot, but we hadn't seen him in any Big 12 action. Well, now we've got it, completely. The season's over. We've got it right in front of us. from first game to last and all the improvements, all the dumb things, or not dumb, but bad things that he's done and mistakes, whatever, those types of things there. And that's why I'm confident in saying if the price is right, he stays. And by all accounts, and this is something that is what we've been able to glean as the season goes on, he likes it there, right? I mean, he's a kid who's on the other side of the world, literally, and he's embraced. The fans love him. He's fit in. Yeah, he just says the right things. It looks like he's having the time of his life. So if he wants to say, I think that's a great story. And I know he's getting the money, so wait a second, man.
The money,
he's getting the money.
Yeah. The money, the rookie wage scale, it's already pretty much determined. You get to negotiate up or down 20%. From these numbers, so there's a little bit of negotiation. But if he is a top 10 pick, well, the 10th pick makes $5 million. Now you can negotiate, so that's plus or minus 20% of $5 million. If he's 14, he's making $4 million, and if he's 20th, he's making $3 million. All of that clearly, when the quote is you will not outbid us, that money is clearly all totally doable. The DeBonsa money. The $7.5 million that's been rumored / reported out there. The fifth pick in the draft will make $7.5 million. The fourth makes $8.3. The top two make $10 million. The number one pick is at $11.5 now as the scale keeps going up. So more money for everybody. So that's the range of what NBA rookies make. So DeBonsa is essentially making about the money of the fourth or fifth pick in the draft. And obviously, I mean, Egor, whether he's 10, 15, or 20, it sounds like BYU can match that without really thinking about it. There
I would
it is.
think they would.
There it is. Let's do it. And you're right, like all the nonverbal stuff when you watch games, there are guys are miserable and they're hanging their head and pouting when they go back to the bench. And other guys high-fiving, hugging teammates, all the smiles, the bounce in their step. And he's way more of that, which makes returning seem possible.
Yeah.
But still, somebody idolizes, I developed this player, we see you at number 8 as a steal, and there are no guarantees. As coaches will tell you in a heartbeat, there are no guarantees. It looks good, but it's not done till it's done.
Right, but I don't think that it's a negative. I think he can develop his game in the NBA. Because, we talked about that with Judd, too, about Collier.
Yeah.
Asking him about improved shooting. And I said to him, he can be in the gym as long as he wants. And Judd said, well, that's the key. What did Judd say? He put up 1,500 shots a day?
Some ridiculous
when he was
number.
that age? Yeah. At that point. And obviously he was known as a big-time shooter. And so you can do that too. I mean, it's not like even if he's sitting the bench, he can't develop. I think he can, because development can be a lot on your own. But what does he want to do? I mean, I think that's just what it boils down. What do you want to do? What is your heart saying you should do? And whatever that's what it's saying you should do it.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
It's what you want.
Do you know I was babysat until 8th grade? Dolores Arnold used to babysit me every day after school. And
Dolores?
her husband, yeah.
Look, he got like 220-pound 8th grade hands.
Can we not focus on that?
You walk in like, hey, Dolores. Hi, Hans. I think it's funny the thought of a 8th grade Hans Olsen probably pushing 2 bills, sitting in and being babysat.
You guys let me know when you're done so I can finish my story.
Tell us more about Dolores.
Anyways, her husband, Don, liked MASH.
Sitting next to Don on the couch watching MASH.
Hey, Don, can I borrow your shaver?
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is great. John Shire is awesome. But don't sleep on Houston. Don't sleep on Houston. We weren't 34-4 playing in the Toy Poodle League. We were 19-1 in the Big 12. Playing in the Big 12 helped us. Shout out to my Big 12 brethren, Coach Brett Yormark, and all the great coaches in the Big 12.
Band of the day, Hall & Oates. John Oates is 77 today. It's brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts and events in 2025, check out livenation.com. There is Houston basketball coach Kelvin Sampson. It's no toy poodle league, PK. It's the Big 12, brother.
I've never heard that expression.
Oh, go play intramurals. Go play in the Big 12 and prepare yourself for the NCAA tournament. Duke is awesome.
What is a toy poodle?
I don't know what the toy poodle league would be. I mean, I took it personally. It was the Big West. There are always teams. There are always
thought it
teams.
was a shot towards the ACC.
I thought it was ACCs he's getting after.
It could be a shot to the ACC. He's talking
Duke.
Duke.
Take a shot at the Big West.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't care. Also pumped himself up because everybody says, hey, the SEC is this awesome league. Well, our league is awesome, and we're prepared, already coaching ahead, planning in his guy's mind. We're tested. We can handle Florida. Let's go do this.
I took it ACC.
I think a lot of people did. I mean, that's the league they just beat.
Because he was saying Duke this, Duke that. That preceded. He didn't play that, but that he said that. Duke this, Duke that. So much hype about that. I think it's just great that you got Ariema at 71 years of age, and what is Sampson, 69? You got two dudes that they can't relate to kids, blah 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 blah. You're old, blah blah. All those stuff you hear.
If you're good, you're good, and they're good.
Yeah, you've lost it. You need to step aside. A lot of young people, they say that. Of course, when they get that age, they don't want to hear it. Hope you get to that age, otherwise that means you're dead. So you hear that, but yeah, look at that. As far as that goes, and that's very interesting that you got the men's and the women. Now he hasn't won it yet, whereas Ariema did, obviously, yesterday. AZ Fudd, one of the better players on that team for women for Colorado or Connecticut. How about that, AZ Fudd? You know what's cool about that is AZ. That's my dog's name.
Unbelievable! It all comes full circle.
And did you see her mother had a T-shirt, Fudd around and find out?
Yuck, 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 yuck.
But, yeah, Houston, that was an amazing comeback. You looked like 2-3 times, at least twice, you thought the game was over, but they did it. Now, I'm not going to put it past them that they win tonight. There's no way you can. You have to look at this and say, oh, my gosh, this is a toss-up. Whoever plays better on this particular evening is going to win. And if it's Houston, so be it, man. And I think they've got a great chance to win. They got just as good a chance as Colorado. Why do I keep saying Colorado? Florida. Oh, I got Colorado on my mind. But Florida, right? I'm a little torn, Golden, I told you, is a Phoenix native. Grew up about 5 miles in one of high schools that we played. So I like to see the Phoenix guys do well. But if you're a Big 12er, after listening to Sampson give you a shout-out to the Big 12 brethren, Majerus used to say, I don't care about the other. Now, he wouldn't say it publicly, but I heard him say it privately. He didn't care about carrying the banner for the WAC. That didn't mean anything to him. He was carrying the banner for the University of Utah, which meant everything to him, and he carried it rather well, obviously. And so, but to have Kelvin Sampson in his on-court interview after the game, shout out to my Big 12 brethren, I thought that was very impressive. If I'm a Big 12 fan, which to an extent I am, obviously, I'm fired up for that.
David says, any day a Big 12 team beats an SEC team is a good day. Let's hope for a good day.
David, where's his allegiance? You like to check on their photo?
I do. Let me click on that. His name's David Clark. Let me click on this and see if went to Davis High School, studied bowling at Weber State University. He's an IT director, so he's a tech guy. Works for a law firm. So
okay. Well, yeah, sure. I mean, the SEC got a ton of hype this year, and rightly so. I mean, you can say, oh, they got all the money and all this and that. They've got every advantage that you need to exceed. I get all that, and all that's true. You still got to go out there and do it out on the floor. And the hype that they got this year was earned because it was done on the floor.
Greg says, I win our family bracket challenge if Florida wins, but I'll be cheering for the other Cougars. Houston, go Cougs!
Well, that just means your family is you're just doing it for bragging rights, because if there's money at stake, the gamblers, they have no allegiances. Their allegiance is to the money.
To the bet, man.
Around gamblers.
Yeah, it's all about the bet.
Been around gamblers my whole life. Not as much anymore, but still a little. Man, when I was 17 years old, I was up to my eyeballs in it. And, that's where the allegiance goes. So it's probably just a fun thing for the family to do as far as that goes. Yeah, I understand that. I guess I would probably slant a little bit towards Houston myself. I don't really care. I mean, obviously I'm going to watch it, and I hope it's a great game. But I get where Big 12 people would be fired up for that. To have the Big 12, your Mark is going to go nuts. He's going to be dancing on the ceiling. My gosh. He'll probably be standing right next to Sampson on the podium, when they put the podium out there at the end and have the trophy presentation. And he's going to be beaming up a storm. And see, I told you those summer workouts at Rucker Park would pay off.
No, nice. No one game, no one tournament does everything, but you always talk about a team's rep and its previous tournament run and a conference rep and that conference's previous runs can pay off, right? Why does North Carolina get in over West Virginia? But it's not necessarily, it can be about getting into the tournament, but it can also be about, where you're seated and how you're treated, and do you get sent across the country, or do you get to play in your backyard and not travel? There are all kinds of little advantages that can be built in. And ultimately, you just, these one and dones, you gotta go out and play better than the other guy. But you want those little advantages. So the degree that this pays off for the Big 12 down the road, even if down the road is just the next 5 years before they scramble everything again, take it, because the Utes want to be in the tournament next year. The Cougars want to be a great seed, and they want to be regional like they were going to Denver this year. So maybe somehow this will pay off.
Plus, you get more money. You get more money.
Oh, yeah, that. Cash as your team goes deeper into the tournament.
Yeah, and your conference.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Steve Cleveland coming up next. We'll talk with him. Advice for Egor Demin. Should he go pro? Should he stay? The pluses and minuses to both those. And we'll talk to him about Duke's collapse and what that might mean for roster building going forward. Or maybe I'm just getting hung up on something the way you think I always do, PK. We'll run that by him next. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We're joined once again by Steve Cleveland, former BYU basketball coach. Steve, good morning.
I like the fact that we start off the show with a little Hall & Oates.
Well, the reason is the birthday boy. Birthday number 77 for John Oates. So a little shout out to John on his birthday.
There you go. I love it.
So many questions. Before we get to Egor Demin, and we do want to get to him, let's start with the Final Four Saturday night. As Duke, which had been rock solid, only one loss all the way through ACC play, to the regular season champs, the tournament champs, they win it without Flag after he gets injured. They get to the Final Four. A lot of teams that counted on freshmen and spent a lot of money on kids who are supposed to be one and done. A lot of them either missed the tournament, barely made the tournament, and fell by the wayside quickly. But Duke, with their three guys, right, all the way to the Final Four. But I thought, big stage, a lot of pressure. It's a one-off, and they get knocked out. How much of that should college basketball coaches be thinking about when they use their NIL money and put these teams together? Obviously, we know what BYU's doing. We'll see what Alex Jensen does. We see this around the country. And how much would you just go with 22 and 23-year-old junior and seniors? They may not be NBA prospects, but in the biggest moments, they're going to be easier to count on than an 18 or 19-year-old. What would you do putting together a roster if you were coaching these days?
I think the influence in my life has been to develop and build a program from the bottom up. And that's only experience I've really known, to be able to come in and get, guys to come in for 1 year. I think good coaches can adjust to anything, but for me personally, I love the rebuilding piece of it. Not the rebuilding, but the building piece of it with seniors. And you're looking at Houston, and who has a huge win there. And you're talking about guys, a senior, a junior, a senior. I mean, these are experienced guys, and some of them haven't even been with Houston all the time. They've been with other programs. So in building a program, I remember getting transfers and junior college guys, and that's kind of unheard of these days. But to have guys that have experience, that've been through it, been through tough times, they kind of had to scratch and claw to even get to that level, you can count on those guys. And I think you trust those players. And not to say that you can't do it with blue bloods like Duke and others have done, but when I look at Auburn with Bruce Pearl and know him and know how he coaches and know how he goes about things, it was all about seniors, and obviously Florida beat them, but they got to a point where they had chances to get to Final Fours and win national championships. I think Houston's done the same thing, and they've done it with senior leadership, and so I mean, there's no way that I'm not going to be pulling for Houston. I have nothing against Todd Golden. I remember when he was at USF, and I was doing some TV stuff myself and had a chance to kind of get to know him. But I love the model that we see with Houston and Kelvin Sampson, and there's just some toughness there and some grit that they've had to get through and fight through, and consequently, they're the big dance. It's not that you got to have talent, obviously. Talent's really important, but I love the fact that you can have the experience and have had those tough, difficult moments and to kind of come through. So I think we all kind of – none of these teams are underdogs per se. They're all great teams and great coaches, but I love the model of Bruce Pearl and Kelvin Sampson and how they built this.
And yet Tyrese Proctor is a junior, the most experienced guy on the team, and he clanks the front end of a one-on-one with the game on the line.
I know. Hey, you know what? It's life as we know it at that level, and those you see it. It focuses at the biggest moment that everybody remembers. There were a lot of missed free throws, a lot of missed wide open shots to win games, and it's part of the game. It's unfortunate. And sometimes we get labeled, but my thinking is that as a coach and having to go and console young people who have missed an easy shot or missed a free throw, and it's right there for the world to see, and so it's difficult. But I tried in games that I coached and that were important and meaningful that we lost to make sure that we lose the team. We don't no individual. Despite the fact that somebody misses free throws, they had to get to those places where they are right now. And so you have to be so positive with these young people and let them know and let the team know. It can destroy a team when we start pointing fingers, and no one's doing that. I get that at any level for the most part. But it's heartbreaking when you see young people that want it, that put themselves in a position to have a huge moment and miss free throws, and you don't forget those things. I can remember games in which I had opportunities and not playing at this level, but just no matter what the level was, whether it was coaching high school or junior college or Division I or playing in a Division I program, those are painful enough. And you just need to players. What I love about guys now, there's a sensitivity that maybe there wasn't when I was coaching, and today there seems to be much more of a sensitivity to how players feel and what's going on and making them feel good, even in their difficult moments. And I like that better, and but it's tough, hard on everybody. We've all experienced, we've all watched it and seen it happen and see the despair, the angst that one goes through. But that doesn't define those guys. They're playing here at a very high level, and it's just painful for a while. And you come back and you forget about it and start preparing for next year and get back to the national dance again.
We're joined by Steve Cleveland, former BYU basketball coach. You've had to advise guys on going to the NBA or not, and you've probably had people take your advice and not take your advice. How much can a coach really set their own interests aside? And I guess there's an argument that setting aside your own interests in the long run is in your interest, so maybe that's a little easier to do. What would you tell Egor Demin? Go to the NBA, come back to college, improve your draft stock, make good money with NIL. What is the best course for him going forward?
I think you just mentioned it. I think the best thing for him going forward is to continue to work on his craft and his game. He's in a program that's going to have high-level people playing, and they're going to have, obviously, with AJ coming in and other recruits coming in. We watched him, and it was hard to watch him early on. You felt for him because he has all this publicity, and, the world's expecting this about him and this and that, and it was tough. And I thought that the coaching staff did a good job in terms of taking him back and letting him sit and watch. My suggestion is that stay another year, work on your game every day, day in and day out, watch film, get in the weight room, and have a breakout year. And to do that, there's going to be a lot of attention, and he already has a lot of attention, and certainly he's a draftable young man right now. But if I was giving him counsel, it would be stay a year. It's not going to hurt your stock, and you probably improve it, and you got a chance to, maybe win a national title. They got to the Sweet 16. Maybe they're a Final Four team next year if everything's work out. So that would be my suggestion, that he do that. I've been around him enough. I know how much he loves being here, and he's got great friendships, and he's got a staff that is been so supportive of him. And the thing that I've enjoyed watching is that when he's not played well, he sat. And he needed that to watch and how he can get better. And so my suggestion is to stay. And I'm not going to have any influence on that young man, but he needs another year, I think, personally, for himself, for that team. And why not do it when you got a big-time guy coming in that you can kind of share that limelight with and maybe do something special.
That's an interesting thing. I think that with DeMonsa coming in, I don't think it takes away from anything that Demin has in his game. You can argue that it might help him advance it because he's known as a great, a seer of the court who's willing to give you the ball where you need to have it. So his playmaking skills probably could be advanced with DeMonsa there. I assume that DeMonsa is going to live up to the hype. He certainly had a ton of it, and we've seen Cooper Flagg live up to the hype, and those guys are talked about in the same sentence. So we'll go under the assumption that DeMonsa, whatever he is, he'll be able to show it during his probably one and only season with the Cougars. But how about a guy like Saunders, who developed into the man and the offense ran through him as far as his goals and aspirations for the NBA? I'm wondering how you think they will be affected if he chose to stay and then is playing with the number one recruit who is expected to be all that.
Well, I would do anything to keep Saunders in the program. He is the heart and soul of that team, and we saw that when Egor came in and he struggled and was up and down. I'm not suggesting for a moment that there's going to be an issue with him developing and being the player that he is, but it's still something that's different for these guys. Playing in front of 20,000 people, mad crowds, and all the things that go with it. I'm sure he won't disappoint. But for that team to reach its full potential, they need both those guys. And I think I think if anything, when you start looking at development of players, and we saw that with Egor, where man, he was up and down, and there were times in the season that, especially middle of the season, where he was sitting on the bench and watching, because that's what he needed to do because he was struggling, and they stayed with it, and then all of a sudden he's a more confident guy. So I know that I'm pretty sure AJ is probably a one and done deal, but for the two of them to play together and to kind of share notes, and I don't know if there's any kind of relationship with these guys. They may be good friends and knew each other before. I'm not sure. But I think that's a key thing for the coaching staff. Coach Young it's going to be really important for people to understand their roles, really important to talk about the development of these players. There's no issue about how we're going to get you ready for the next level, okay? These are guys already at the next level, okay? What they're going to try to do is win a national championship or get to a Final Four. Those are the things, the aspirations of this team. So I think that together, and they probably, I'm not sure exactly who's going to be there, but to ignore Saunders and Saunders needs to continue to be the guy that's got the ball in his hands, and it'll be shared. And despite the fact that AJ is all this and all that, and we know that he's going to be in the league, and as is Egor, but it's going to be a guy like Richie Saunders that leads this team. He's going to be the leader of the team. Those young guys aren't going to be the leaders of the team. It's going to be Richie Saunders, and that you can't sleep on him. He just did everything for this team. Maybe his numbers and shots attempted and stuff will change a little bit, but if they want to get to a Final Four, Richie Saunders is going to be that. He's going to be the captain. He's going to be the guy. That takes a lot of pressure off those young guys too, as well. That he can hold that, and that'll be his role to keep this team together. But yeah, I can't imagine that Richie doesn't play and have the same role that he's had. Maybe there'll be a fewer shots, and that's not going to bother him. Everybody has the same goal here. Let's get to a Final Four. This is a team that has the talent to get to a Final Four, and you don't want to have any kind of agendas or any kind of issues with team culture, chemistry. You don't want to have that, and I think that Richie Saunders brings that maturity. He brings that leadership that'll help both those great players.
So let's assume that AJ shows up, Demin stays, and Saunders stays. To your point about the expectations of, hey, Elite Eight, Final Four, title game, championship, right? Sweet 16's now the floor. How do you go past that? So let's assume that those three guys stay. Hall is gone. What's the next one or two priorities for them to bring in? What do they need to do so they can beat Alabama, who beat them, beat Duke, who beat Alabama, beat Houston, who beat Duke? You see the path forward. There's a lot to be done. What's next?
Yeah. Is there any way that Mag has any more eligibility?
Well, if we've learned anything, never say never about eligibility in college sports, but I think not.
I think that they need that on this team. They need to bring in some experience, and you're right. I mean, it's one of those things that it's difficult enough, but they need to look for and recruit guys that just have that competitiveness. I would think in the portal, there are guys that are looking for second chances, and maybe it didn't quite work. I'm not following the transfer portal. I read things, and so I can't talk a lot about who those guys might be, but I'd be looking for an older guy, maybe one or two older guys that could come in and have an immediate impact and take the place of the guys that have left. So I think the transfer portal is the quickest way to do that, and you can find out. You'll have a lot of film on them. You can find out immediately where they're at, where's going, and BYU's got enough prestige in the country now with guys they're playing and what they're doing and who's coming into the program. That an older guy might want to come in and be a part of that. And so if it's a good fit, I think it benefits BYU. But I do believe it's important that you have that kind of leadership. And I'm not suggesting this person needs to be a captain, but as somebody that just competes and sets an example. And I use Mag because he was a catalyst to that team, and I had no idea who he was. And if it's just a one-year deal, great. But you got to have guys that are tough and gritty and willing to compete and not back down from anyone and be examples. And I think the examples of those guys last year, it helped them later in the season. You saw where Egor played with more confidence and it was more prepared for the big moment. So that's what I'd be looking for in a portal.
How about Gino Auriemma at 71 and Sampson at 69 coaching these guys? And obviously when I say guys, I'm including the ladies for UConn in terms of being able to relate to the players. You got two senior citizens coaching in the national title game in both men's and women's. And you're supposed to be sitting on a couch somewhere or playing shuffleboard on a cruise ship, and here they are still doing their thing. In terms of relating to players, I think that's pretty cool.
Oh, I do too. I know Todd Golden. I know Kelvin Sampson. I've been around him. Kelvin, the thing about Kelvin is I remember going to clinics and things. He always scared me. I never kind of knew what he was thinking. I was always really careful about what I was going to say and what I was going to do, and I had so much respect for how his teams played. But, I have Houston in my bracket. So does my wife, and it's kind of like, and she does her bracket. I don't even know why she picked Houston, but maybe because they were a 1 seed. But there isn't anything I'd love more than to see Kelvin Sampson win a national championship. And they've beaten Gonzaga, they've beaten Purdue, they've beaten Tennessee, they beat Duke. I think a lot of the country is rooting for Kelvin Sampson to win a national championship, and nothing to take away from Todd Golden, who has certainly had a great year, and he's looking for his first national championship, but he's going to have a lot more opportunities. But, I can't wait to watch the game, and I'd be really, really happy to see Houston win a national championship for a lot of different reasons. But he's worked hard. He's been there. He's a veteran. He's had his relationships. A big part of watching these games, when I watch games, is I love when we can get into the huddle and you can see the interactions when they make a mistake, and how Coach Sampson, takes him by the arm, and there's no browbeating. I mean, he's a fierce competitor, and I've watched enough of his games to know that he gets the most out of guys, and not everybody can play for Kelvin Sampson. But what he does know is that the guys he does have are with him, trusted, and can handle that, maybe kind of extra energy that comes from Kelvin and coaching his games, and his just. What's the word I want to use? There's just an expectation that his players understand that we're going to play hard and that we're going to compete. And you start looking, at the games they played, and Purdue was close, Duke was close, Gonzaga was a close game. And obviously Tennessee wasn't, but he brings a lot out of these guys, and they can never just get by themselves. And that's what I love about Kelvin Sampson.
Steve, we appreciate it as always. Thanks for joining us. We will talk to you again next week.
All right. See you guys. Take care.
There's Steve Cleveland talking hoops with us every week right here on The Zone. Steve Bartle, Utah insider for The Zone, covering the Utes, whether it's Alex Jensen putting together his program at Utah, spring football for the Utes underway. We will talk with Steve Bartle coming up at the top of the hour, 9:05, right here on The Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Draft analyst. She makes the magic happen for NBA Future Now on the NBA app and NBA TV. She is our friend Kristen Peak. Where's Egor Demin fitting in at the moment, do you think?
For Egor, I would say probably anywhere from 10 to 25.
Is there a chance he goes back to school? I know you've dismissed that in the past.
Absolutely not.
Because he continues to leave the door open, and certainly every BYU fan is dreaming about the idea of teaming he and AJ together, but you don't see that happening.
I don't see it happening because, listen, nothing is guaranteed in this world. And if you are a projected late lottery, mid-first round pick, then you go. You go, you make the NBA. Nobody comes to America to just play college basketball. The end dream is always the NBA. I don't think he's coming back. Sorry, BYU fans.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination to KSLSports.com/contest. Listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. That will celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week. And sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. The college basketball season is almost over. One more game tonight. The Jazz season ends Sunday. And then it's on to the NBA playoffs for 16 teams. A few more with playing games, I suppose. And for the Utah Jazz, it's draft time. For Egor Demin, draft time. Once teams are locked in and knowing where they're going, you can get a little better idea where he might be drafted. The range right now seems to be from 11 to 17, somewhere in there. Is there a point, PK, in your mind, gut instinct, if he finds out he's draft pick number 10, he ought to stay, 80, or 10, he ought to go, 80, ought to go, 60? You have a number in your mind where you're thinking, yeah, if it's that high, I better go?
Oh, I think you go top 10.
Top 10, you go in and sign a a deal for 15, almost 16 million bucks. You take your multi-year deal and you're on your way. But if you're in the sinking tent,
well, but if you're making your decision based on that, though, I mean, Collier and Filipowski, they weren't drafted anywhere near those spots. They still went.
Yep.
So do you think Collier his decision was based on where I'm going to be drafted?
No, but I think he was also in a different situation. I think, as we talked about earlier, Demin's in a situation where the team is winning, he's getting better, and he appears, at least on the surface, sometimes you never know what's going on in the locker room, but appears on the surface like he likes the team, he likes his teammates, and he likes the coach and the coaching staff. He seemed like a pretty happy guy playing basketball. Collier is in a situation where they weren't a good team.
Not. But that was over. He wasn't in any situation.
The coach is gone. He's got to start over. So start over in the NBA.
These guys start over all the time, every time.
They do, and
You're
that's why we see the transfer
telling me that Dalton
portal.
Knecht shouldn't have started over at Tennessee? Doesn't make any sense.
That worked out great for him.
I mean, and Grant Nelson should have stayed at North Dakota State so he didn't have to start over at Alabama. No, that's old school thinking. That is outdated thinking. That doesn't exist anymore. You can change your situation immediately. That had nothing to do with it. No, that's because of your age and the way you grew up and the way you're supposed to say, well, that's what that situation bad, say blah, blah, blah. No, that situation changed in Hartman. Who was to say Musselman wouldn't have been in a better spot to help him get where he wanted to go anyway? I mean, and Richie Saunders and Dallin Hall, both of those guys were with Mark Pope. Their situation changed, and one for the better, one for not, in terms of playing time. And that was, I don't know if it was a coaching deal. It was more about the talent that they brought in. So, no, Collier made a decision. He could have gone to Duke if he wanted to. I mean,
I was going to say
if you're
Houston.
the number one recruit in the country, you can go anywhere you want.
Yeah, I was going to say Houston, but yeah, Duke.
Okay, Houston.
Florida.
He's from Atlanta. Maybe he goes down wherever. So, I mean, I don't know. You created a scenario. I think that's not the way they think these days, and that's the way you grew up, and that's why you say that. But no, is he going to make his decision on where he's going to be drafted? I mean, what about Filipowski then? That situation didn't change.
No.
That situation was only going to get better, and yet he still decided to come out. And he probably knew full well he was going to be a late first-round pick, if at all. And obviously he wasn't. Fell, I think it was the second pick of the second round, right?
Yes.
So I don't know that they base their decision on where you're going to be drafted. That's what we as fans think they do.
Filipowski had already done a couple of years, though, and there's that danger in getting older, and what you get told. Did Filipowski get told, well, you better go now? He wasn't a one-and-doner.
Donovan Mitchell played 2 years, and he's going to be an all-NBA guy. What difference does that make? It comes down to how good you are. It doesn't come down to what grade you are, what this, what that. The NBA is about grown men succeeding. And that's all they care about. Don't be a fool and a knucklehead off the floor. Just be. I mean, look at Anthony Edwards paying off with all these kids he's having with women, and they turn their head on that. That doesn't even matter. Why? Because he's an enormous talent. So if you've got the talent, you can go and do your thing. And so why worry about where you're drafted? Rudy Gobert went 27th, and that used him as a motivation. Right? He could have stayed wherever he was, somewhere overseas another year. But no, he believes in himself, and he's going to say, I can do this. That's what I'm way more concerned about if I'm Demin. If I believe I'm ready to go, I'm going to go. Whether I'm drafted 10th, 15th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, there's bust every single designation from 1 all the way to the end of the first round and into the second round, whatever. Do it. If you think you're ready to go, go. That's what it boils down to. Don't make it more complicated than it has to be, because you have no idea about all this other stuff. Oh, am I going to go 15? Am I going to go 12? Am I going to go 7?
Well, it's good. It's good to hear from the NBA, but players have been lied to. That's happened too. So it's good to have the info, but ultimately, how much do you trust it?
Well, yeah, because his team can tell you, man, we really like you at 11. But then 11 comes up, and there's a player that we thought was going to be gone, and we think our instinct is to go in that direction. And somebody said, man, if you're available, we're going to take you. Well, you don't know, because who else is available? And do they like somebody else a little bit better? And then are they telling the agent to say that so then they can actually get the other player anyway? Oh, that team likes Jones. They don't like this guy. So then the word gets out and back to some other teams. And it's all a big cat and mouse game there. I think it boils down to, look at your situation. Do you think you can be better here? And today, it's not like, oh, man, I can't afford to take my girlfriend out to a movie, or I can't go out for a pizza with the guys. That's long gone, too. You can buy the pizza chain. You can buy everybody in the building a pizza. Pizza for you, pizza for you, pizza for you. Everybody gets a pizza.
All right, we'll track it. We'll see what Egor Demin does. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Coming up, this just occurred to you, PK. You've been thinking about
This
it.
is the best reason why a kid has committed. You will not believe this. One of the reasons why this school got a commitment from a football player over the weekend. We often talk about, remember in the old days used to be, oh, I love the coaches, I love my teammates, I love the facilities. You can count on that, right?
Yep.
And then somebody who works for the internet saying, oh, that's a great get. This is the most unusual. Not the only reason, but it's a reason he listed as to why he committed. And I think it's really important, and the whole community needs to be aware of this.
That's next. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Now, one thing that was thrown out there, this article starts talking about how you fix the draft odds at the All-Star break. Then you don't get this late season tanking situation. Well, the problem is you get the early season tanking situation, right?
Yeah,
So
what's the difference?
The difference is I guess the basketball in theory would be better right now. But if a team is bad enough to where they are tanking, like what makes them want to play super hard? Let's say that the Jazz, for example, would they have actually had a better record? Would their record have been, would they have 25 wins right now? 30? Doubt it. And so saying that the mid-season, like, hey, you can only tank for half of the year because then that's going to fix the late season tank. I don't know if that fixes it necessarily. I think that the NBA is in a spot where they have bigger problems than just the tank. It's the whole attitude of, I'm okay missing a bunch of games even though I'm the superstar of this team.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Your Rocky Mountain Chevy dealer's strong play of the weekend.
Right side to Wilson, centered up. Ovechkin has it, he scores! He scores! Alex Ovechkin scores 895! There's a new goal-scoring champion, and his name is Alexander Ovechkin!
There's the Chevy Strong play of the game. Know it. Today, after 3 o'clock, Alex and JJ will call for it, and you can win fabulous prizes. You were talking with Steve Cleveland, PK, about coaches who are older, senior citizens, if you will. And Gino Ariema just won the title. And then you got Samson in the final. And I just saw a post here that Ovechkin, 420 goals after 30, 475 before he turned 30. So athletes are keeping it rolling. Tom Brady, LeBron James, Alex Ovechkin. However, everybody still wants young talent and the next big thing. And now there's another reason. Someone came up with something new and different.
Yes, I think you'll enjoy this. Over the weekend, the Sun Devils got a football commitment for some kid named Jalen Williams. Seems like there's a million Jalen Williamses out there. A kid from Georgia, and so he's only just a junior in high school, so who knows if he'll keep his commitment or if he's any good. That'll be determined in the years to come. But, you know, these websites always get a couple of quotes from the kid, these recruiting sites, right? And we used to joke that everybody would say, I love the coaches, I love the guys, I love the facilities. You know, they couldn't say they love the cash. because that wasn't acceptable back then. But this kid, Williams, out of Georgia, they got a quote, the 24/7 thing that they do. And he said, this is so he listed some of the reasons why he committed of being in Tempe. Quote, they have great weather. The city is nice. The roads are nice. The school is nice. So I would advise everyone, if you want to be good, make sure your Department of Public Works is taking care of the roads. The roads are nice.
Uh-oh.
Have you ever heard of that?
I've not heard that, and I'm really worried because if any recruits head down West Temple and turn right on 500 to go to the freeway, there is a patch in the road. Your car will drop into that. I mean, it's not a sinkhole, but it might as well be. Holy cow. That's it. Yeah. We're doomed.
The roads are nice. During my time in Tempe, I loved being on the roads. They were so nice. In fact, that was part of the reason my GPA sucked, because I was always on the roads. They were just nice.
On the road again.
He says the roads are nice. The school is nice. It shocked me. The stadium is between two mountains.
There it is.
I think as the Utes want to relocate the Huntsman Center, put it up Immigration Canyon.
Put it between two mountains.
Dear UDOT, ...
We're building an arena up Immigration Canyon, and we need a real nice road up to it. It's got to be smooth.
The roads are nice.
Yep.
The slurry seal that they use on the roads in Tempe, it's the best.
Really, this comes full circle because I remember back in the day of you at the Watchdog. I remember reading stuff like, the team hit a pothole on the way to, whatever the goal was. So, see, the roads have to be nice or you hit a pothole.
Yeah, I think it's a comprehensive. Kids are so sophisticated now, they check the pavement. And if the pavement passes, you have a chance to get a premier player. So we'll have to remember that, and that would be, let's see, in maybe the fall of 27 or 28, see how this Williams kid is doing for the Sun Devils, as long as they keep up the roads. Now, if it doesn't work out and he transfers, I wonder if one of the reasons, man, they really let the roads go.
So when you see the orange cones and the orange barrels and traffic isn't moving and you're upset, just remember, hey, they're just trying to help the Utes, the Cougars, and the Aggies recruit. That's all they're doing.
Right. And if you remember going back before the Olympics when they redid I-15, I bet your recruiting sucked then.
Probably. It's probably terrible. No wonder BYU basketball went in the dumper in the middle of the decade. There it is.
Those roads were awful.
Yeah. I mean, you land at the airport, but you can't get down to Provo. The roads are to rebuild I-15. It was horrific. That explains what happened in the 90s. There it is.
Well, okay, then explain when that core project, why they were so good during the 2000s, they were rolling through there.
Yeah, explain it. Go ahead, explain it.
Well, I have no idea. The core project?
That's the one that did through Lehigh all the way down to Provo.
So that's what happened after Lavelle retired.
Yeah, there you go. After Lavelle retired, there we go.
There it is. That explains the 3 straight losing seasons. That's what happened to BYU football.
And if this kid isn't good enough and doesn't take his academics seriously enough, he's going to be on the side of the road picking up trash.
And Georgia must have a lot of potholes. He's a Georgia kid, right? They get him cross country.
Yeah.
Yep. Number 44 among all recruits out of Georgia.
Oh, jeez, you and your 24/7 recruiting list.
No, I'm on ArizonaSports.com.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Thank you. Could have never negotiated the site that fast.
The roads are nice.
The roads are nice. That is tipping recruiting battles. All right, DJ PK, Steve Bartle on the condition of the roads on Guardsman. Are they tearing that thing up while they build that baseball stadium? We will talk with Steve Bartle about Utah spring football and Alex Jensen, his first moves as Utah's basketball coach. That's coming up. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We're joined by Steve Bartle, Utah Utes insider for The Zone. Steve, good morning.
Morning, fellas. How we doing?
We are doing well. The Utes, I guess the question is, how are they doing? They're doing many things. The football team has a new offensive coordinator. They've got a new quarterback. They're looking for a backup. Kyle Whittingham's talked about the competition at wide receiver and a running back. And then you got the basketball team, Alex Jensen, putting a staff and a roster together. What is the most intriguing thing happening? Because you cover the Utes, you're a Ute insider here. There's a lot of stuff going on. What do you find most interesting right now?
What a simple question, but a great one, right? Because there is a lot going on up at Utah right now. It's pretty interesting with everything going on with football and basketball. I would say, there's a lot of intrigue around the basketball program with Alex Jensen coming in and that whole dynamic. I would say, that's probably where a lot of the most intrigue is. There's plenty of interest around the football program right now with everything new, especially on that offense side of the ball. But with basketball, it's an exciting time. I think there's a lot of genuine excitement with the basketball program. They picked up their first commitment in the transfer portal last week, and there's still a lot to be done, a ton to be done with this roster and with his staff. And so there's a lot to do for Alex, and with him still serving with the Dallas Mavericks, there's just a lot of intrigue around the basketball program, and with football, there's a lot of exciting updates and all that sort of stuff. But I think most interest is with this basketball program right now.
He's got two guys that he's hired, one on the coaching staff and one on the administrative side. When do you think that we'll have some more news? I know there's one guy I've been hearing, a local guy who has local connections, waiting for it to get done before we make any announcement. I'm wondering how long you think all that will take.
Yeah, I could see some movement on that front this week. And then potentially, too, I've heard, some additional buzz that he's looking to make another hire potentially as soon as next week. So, he is moving and making progress with these staff decisions. But, what I've learned with Alex and with this process is that, he is being very, very thorough, and he's bringing in guys, he's focusing on guys that are going to bring a lot of value to the program. And I think with who is expected to be announced at some point this week, there's a good resume that he brings, a lot of ties here, especially locally, that I think will be exciting. And then, beyond that, there's been a lot of talk that Alex wants to bring in somebody that potentially he brings in with him from the NBA, potentially from his international ties, serving with the German national team. And so that's sort of what I'm hearing on the staff, that we could see something this week, and then potentially another addition made sometime next week around that time.
How important is it to have someone who knows college basketball and knows kids that age, knows the rules of the game, because it is a different game than the NBA? And how much is all of that can be figured out? And you'll certainly figure it out in your first year back, and you're going to get more than 1 year. So bring in the guys from the NBA and bring in the people internationally, and don't worry about college guys with college experience.
Yeah. I think it's definitely trending, less and less important, right? I think we're trending the other way, where, it used to be vital that if you were bringing somebody in from the NBA, that, his staff would mostly need to be comprised of guys that could recruit and all that sort of stuff, that had the knowledge of college basketball. But I think what we're seeing now with the way that it's evolving, as a sport, and becoming more of a professional model, where you have a general manager that is going to be negotiating with agents, for a lot of top guys, and addressing your roster needs, through that way, instead of, your grassroots recruiting on the trail, and doing that. That still is important. But nowadays, the type of talent that you need, especially at the power conference level, you're going to be negotiating contracts essentially. And so I think that makes it less important to have staff members that are full-on college guys. You still need that presence. You still need the guys that have those recruiting ties, that know the lay of the land, that know the conference foes that you're going to be competing against. I still think that is important, but less so. And I think Alex can learn as he goes and can get a feel for it and can adjust and adapt, as he gets more time in the job.
They had a scrimmage that was open to the media the other day for football for years, literally decades. I think the offense has looked very similar from one season to another. How much different do you think the offense has a chance to look this season compared to what it's been for many years?
There's a lot that will be different. The run game, there's some different things that Jason Beck likes to do with the run game, and the QB run game in particular is going to be, more prominent than what we've seen over the last couple of years. I think, with Devin Dampier, with what he was able to do at New Mexico last year, you feel really good about what that'll mean. I think he threw for 2,700 yards, ran for 1,100, and you like that production. You like the touchdown number that he finished at, 31 total touchdowns. He is watching the scrimmage on Saturday. It was really easy to see Devin Dampier's impact on the game of football and on this offense. With his dual threat ability, especially behind this offensive line, where he's going to be provided a pocket and provided time to find receivers and to find opportunities to throw the ball down the field. That was my biggest takeaway, was you could feel the stress that put on the defense as he sat in the pocket, and as the seconds started to count, the threat of him running grew more and more. And, there were a couple plays where he tucked it and ran in the scrimmage, and, they give him like a 5-yard gain, whatever it ends up being. But you could feel the stress, and it opened up opportunities, down the field. And so that dynamic of, his running ability is going to create a lot of opportunities and openings for others, both in the passing game and in the running game. So that is, that was always an important part of Cam Rising's success at Utah was, his athletic ability, but it wasn't the focal point. It was always an accessory that helped him to find success. It wasn't the main thing. And I think with Dampier, with his running ability, and, he's impressed me as a passer. I've watched a lot of film on him. I know that, there are some erratic misses, and the accuracy can be hit or miss at times, but he's really impressed with some of the passes that he's made, and more importantly, the consistency with which he's made accurate throws. He's not suddenly going to be completing passes at a 70%, rate, where he's jumping 15%, but I think there will be improvement on that front. He looks better, and I think just his impact and the way that, he demands the attention of defenders is really going to open things up for, not only the passing game, but the running game as well.
Steve Bartle, Ute insider for The Zone, joining us. It's probably too early to get an answer we can hold you to, so really we're just doing this to get more of an idea. Well, you haven't seen enough yet. Well, none of us have seen enough yet. And maybe even the coaches don't know, because they got to see how this plays out, and they got to adapt to whatever injuries they do or don't have. But I'm curious, when you say QB run game, how much of that is design runs where you got 10 blockers instead of 9 with the running back and the quarterback handing off and getting out of the way? How much of these are design runs, and how much of this is him looking to throw and then deciding to pull the ball down and run?
Yeah, there is going to be an increase in design QB run. And part of that is, option play, where he's making reads and just making decisions based on how defenders are playing it. But there is going to be, that the design QB power runs where you've got just all 10 other guys blocking for him. And, he's going to create, he's going to create yardage with that. He's going to, with his athleticism and with some of the other options that they have behind him at quarterback, that is going to be a focal point, is that design QB run game. And And two, it with, like I said, the offensive line that he has blocking in front of him, that starting unit did really well in pass protection on Saturday. And that, as I said, as he gets more time in the pocket, you can feel that stress. So his potential to pull and run is going to be there. And that's going to be a really tricky dynamic for defenses to handle. But the design stuff is definitely going to be part of the offense, and it's going to, keep the offense ahead of the chains and keep it moving down the field.
I'm wondering with the transfer portal how that's changed quarterbacking in terms of recruiting, because you got to, the idea being, you want one, maybe 4 scholarships, but now the scholarship limit is being reduced and all that stuff. So, and also too, kids, well, do I go there? I think the job will be open. It used to be, he's a senior, and, I can come in and learn and then take over and blah, blah, blah. But then they bring in somebody like Dampier. Has it turned in terms of recruiting and the philosophies of young quarterbacks and how and where they commit?
It has changed some where, if you have an opening, a starting job opening, your focus has shifted from, well, we need to get a guy in from the recruiting trail, a highly touted kid from the high school ranks, where it's now shifted to, we've got to get a transfer portal guy. I do think there has been a shift in dynamic, but recruiting quarterbacks out of high school is still going to be very important. And, Utah's, they've been fortunate to recruit some good quarterbacks over the last couple of years. Isaac Wilson coming in last year. They've got another one in a freshman, Bird Ficklin, who comes to Utah from Oklahoma. He was kind of a late bloomer this season. He really impressed on Saturday with, his athletic ability first and foremost, but, his ability to throw the ball. So you still need to recruit the high school level and bring in that talent. It's still important, but I do think that when you're in a situation like Utah was, where you're, moving on from a guy like Cam Rising, the focus shifts from, the high school ranks to the transfer portal. I do think that's important. And when, when you're looking for a new offensive coordinator, like we saw with Utah and Oklahoma this cycle, they both brought in the offensive coordinator and quarterback tandem with, the Washington State guy, Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer going to Oklahoma. That is going to be an increase. I think we're going to see an increase in that sort of thing happening as we move forward as well, because you can really see and feel the difference in terms of command of the offense with Dampier compared to everybody else. So I do think that's going to be an increasingly important thing for programs as we move forward, with the transfer portal and roster construction.
Steve Bartle, Ute Insider for The Zone, joining us. The backup quarterback always seems to matter, whether it's September or January in the Rose Bowl. Even going back to Tyler Huntley, he went down and made it to they got good enough play to make it to the Pac-12 title game. What do you think of the battle for backup quarterback? Is there anything that's really clear to you as far as somebody in, somebody out? Obviously, there's a lot of practices to go if it's close and they're jockeying.
Yeah, no, it's still pretty unclear, right? I think, for both quarterbacks, Isaac Wilson and Bird Ficklin, those two seem to be the two competing for the job. With Isaac, this is a new offense, and you can see, that he's learning a lot. He's taking in a lot, and he's got a lot to learn in terms of how to operate and how to execute within this offense. With Ficklin, with his athleticism, he has something that he can hone in on, which is that read option game. He's really dynamic with that. Isaac can do that, but he's more of a passer than the athlete that these other two are. And Isaac's, a decent athlete. But I do think that Ficklin has, an edge there. But I do. So that competition is going to continue from spring ball to fall camp. And, I think ideally what you're able to do is Dampier stays healthy. Obviously, that's a big ask for a Utah quarterback. But if he can stay healthy, that really does a lot for Isaac Wilson, who can potentially serve as the backup and also redshirt, which could be key for him and preserving this year because he didn't get to do that this past year and preserving that eligibility. But Utah has two options behind Dampier in Wilson and Ficklin that are going to be competing. And, what we saw Saturday, there were some good things that they can build on moving forward.
Steve, if you had to go out with either DJ or PK, you can only choose one. Who would you choose?
Well, it depends on what we're doing. If we're going golfing, flip a coin. If we're going karaoke, I mean, PK, I've heard you sing, that's going to be a fun time. I know that if I'm going to a sports bar and just want to talk sports, DJ, you're my guy. So it just kind of depends on what we're doing. What do we got on tap?
Do not underestimate my karaoke abilities. That's all I will say. Just because I won't sing on the radio doesn't mean I won't go torture somebody at karaoke night.
The road looks rough ahead, miles and miles from your nice warm bed. You just remember. Who? Yeah. Kyle? Got a friend in me.
Oh, give Steve the full compliment. Come on, play the greatest hits. You haven't done it in a while. Steve, do you know them all? And you can finish it with the, because there's nothing that says the three of us couldn't go out and karaoke together, and we got a little Peter Frampton work that was pretty good.
Fat fellow with the hair colored yellow.
That hurt.
I what you trying to prove? Let's get physical. I'm on the highway to hell. Don't stop me.
There's more where that came from, Steve. You can come in sometime during a commercial break, and Yacht can regale you.
I will do that this week. I'll be in there this week.
All right. Come on, hit him with the Frampton on the way out, Yacht.
Do you feel like I do? How'd you feel? It's a great show. Good night, America. Woo!
Anytime you place the call, we'll be there, Steve.
Sounds good, fellas.
Thank you, Steve.
Appreciate you guys.
Steve Bartle, Ute Insider for The Zone, joining us here. When we come back, everything you missed in this show, the football, the hoops, the championships, the new trend in recruiting. It's all coming up. Stay with us.
It's that time of year.
The tournament is now underway.
Hey, who do you have going all the way?
Who do you have going all the way? Keep tabs on your selections now by logging on to KSLSports.com and following all the action on the Basketball Mayhem page.
I love college basketball.
It's your chance to win cold, hard cash. The KSL Sports Basketball Mayhem is powered by Omada Real Estate. Download the free Omada app today from the real estate experts as the Stern Team. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is great. John Shire is awesome, but don't sleep on Houston. Don't sleep on Houston. We weren't 34-4 playing in the Toy Poodle League. We were 19-1 in the Big 12. Playing in the Big 12 helped us. Shout out to my Big 12 brethren, Coach Brett Yormark, and all the great coaches in the Big 12.
9 a.m. Slacker Radio Online is brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary, 801-899-7600, or visit the website at TrajanWealth.com. There is the coach of the Houston Cougars, Kelvin Sampson, championship game bound. Tonight they play Florida for the NCAA title. Question up on our Facebook page after those post-game comments, pumping up the entire Big 12. It's not some toy poodle league. How can you root against the Cougars tonight? Houston's got to be the team, right? You can't be rooting for Florida. Please.
No. SEC, get out of town.
The poll question is up. Right now, Houston's getting a little over 70% of the vote. A little more than a quarter of you still in Florida's corner. You want the Gators to win, I assume, because you picked them in your pool and you want to win your bracket. Might be some prize money available. Because otherwise, why would you root against Houston?
God, no, it's so wrong.
The Big 12, back to the top, where they belong, as long as our local teams are in it. They shuffle them off in 5 years, who cares? But for right now, this is it.
Well, yeah, you can't think that things are going to change until there's some type of change. I mean, who knows what's ahead? Right now you're in this conference, pretty stable conference. Let's make the best of it. It's not the Pac-12 that the Utes and probably the Cougars would have wanted back in the day. The Utes very much more recently, obviously. But this is not a bad place. It's not a bad place to be.
Title game tonight, 6:50. You can listen to it right here on The Zone. Utah forward Ezra Osura entered the NCAA transfer portal over the weekend, but then we expected a lot of change on the Ute roster, didn't we?
Yeah, and just because you're in doesn't mean you're gone. We'll have to see as far as that goes. But yeah, every team has a fair amount of change, and so why should these guys be anything different? That's why I think there shouldn't be a portal. I think everyone should be able to come and go. You can have some dates and regulations on it, but essentially that's what it is. So just make it that way, and then you wouldn't have these. Oh, he contacted this guy and the blah blah blah. Yeah, okay. Those are, of all the things they need to clean up, rating other rosters seems to be pretty low on the totem pole.
NCAA women's title goes to UConn. They blow out South Carolina 82-59. 6 different schools have won the last 7 titles. Gino Auriemma now has his 12th NCAA championship as UConn gets back to the top of the mountain.
He's pretty good at what he's been able to do.
Fact. Obvious, but fact.
71, still going.
Yep. Utah Jazz lose to the Atlanta Hawks 147-134. That's 3 games in a row. They've given up 140 points. But Walker Kessler isn't playing, concussion. So we'll see. Concussions, and we see in football, they're routinely a week or 2. And there's only 1 more week left in the season. This is it. 3 games, 1 week. It all ends next Sunday. We'll be back here next Monday, wrapping up the season.
Well, whether he has a concussion or the ability to play with that concussion is irrelevant now. The more important thing is that they can use it as an excuse and not get fined by the league.
Yep. Sit him out. They'll be terribly defensively, probably lose the last 3 games, and that will give them the best lottery odds possible. No worth.
They're going to get Cooper Flagg. How many times did I tell you?
Oh, tell us every day until it happens, PK.
I'm going to fly I am going to fly my Cooper Flagg, and nobody can stop me.
There it is. Jazz are off until Wednesday when they play the Blazers. Home game at the Delta Center.
Retail places to get the ultra big flag to call the ultra big flag.
Finally.
I was talking
all
about
these
Cooper.
Years.
He's huge.
Yeah.
It finally makes sense.
I don't know that he was born then, but nevertheless.
Nonetheless, I had the vision. Thank you.
Retail places to get the ultra big flag to call the ultra big flag.
You missed
one letter, and suddenly everybody's upset.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. A misplaced comma can change the whole meaning of a sentence.
Fact.
So why shouldn't a letter change the whole meaning of the word?
Yep. Let's move on.
Oh, snap!
Big money. Vlad Guerrero Jr. gets $500 million from the Toronto Blue Jays. He signs for 14 years. No deferred money. So what a great day to be a Blue Jay, especially if your name rhymes with Vlad Guerrero.
What a great day to be him, man. He's a masher, huh?
He is. He can hit it.
That'd be interesting, because we've seen these long-term contracts, Bryce Harper and Soto and all that. And Pujols didn't really work out with the Angels. Not to the level that they thought, certainly. Now, it's such a team game in terms of you need so many guys. You wonder, what's it going to be like? Right now, the going's good for Harper. Soto just got there. But Philadelphia's been competitive with him being there. And his blue collar, blue collar. That means you're a kind of a grinder, right?
Yep.
I always have to think, what is blue collar and white collar? It took me a long time to figure what that meant. But
white collar, executives, blue collar, factory workers, building cars.
Right.
Yeah,
and so Harper has that type of feisty attitude that fits in the Northeast very well, and he has just been someone who's been universally loved over there in the Philly area. So that's worked. Now, they haven't won a World Series, but they've been competitive every year. You can't deny that. But how's it going to be, for these guys that sign these long-term deals in MLB? It's smart for these teams to get these kids locked up, if they're that good.
Mm-hmm.
And it certainly appears that Guerrero is that good. He lost some weight, but still really thick, and hopefully he doesn't get injured, because that would be a bummer as far as that goes. But we'll see how these things play out in year 8, 9, 10, 11, because those are long time contracts to sign. Tatis did it with the Padres, didn't he?
And so
now,
did
when
Machado.
he plays, he's really good.
Right.
But, he got suspended, and he seems to be a little injury prone. They move him to the outfield. I would tell him, unless it's something really important, you don't ever leave your feet. Just don't. And if the pitcher yells at you, we'll get in his face. You know what I mean? Because he's really good when he is able to play. But the suspension's one thing. I would think he would take care of that, not have that happen again. But you can't have him get injured. He's too valuable, so I don't need him really diving to try to make a shoestring catch or any of that stuff. Unless it's really, really super important, which most of the regular season games, one is no more important than the other.
So don't be Victor Robles going into the right field corner.
Victor Robles can do whatever he wants. He's not for Fernando
He's
Tatis.
not Fernandez. As a matter of fact, Victor Robles better go make that catch, right? And it was an awesome catch, and it looked like everything went wrong when he got to the corner. The wall was just high enough to clip his knee. That kind of stopped the lower body momentum, vaulted his upper body into the wall. He didn't have a chance to protect himself. He made the catch. But, man, he smacked that wall, and he came down holding his wrist, his shoulder. There are multiple things could have gone wrong there.
Yeah, oh, yeah. He looked like a wounded animal who had been shot.
So we ought to hear more today about him. That was a fantastic catch. The video's out there if you haven't seen it. Great catch, but a high price was paid.
Right. I don't for Tatis, no. Just kind of jog over.
Steve Cleveland joined us early in the show. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can listen to Steve Cleveland. We were talking with him about Egor Demin. What do? Do you go to the NBA? Do you come back? What is the best path forward? Steve talked about that as well as the NCAA title game, so wherever you get your podcasts. With Demin, you figure if he's top 10, he's gone, but if he's second 10, then there's a pretty good chance he's staying in Provo for a sophomore season.
Selfishly, I hope he stays. But there hasn't been too many guys in his position who have stayed.
They tend to go.
Man, I saw the pictures of him at the church conference yesterday with the young lady. Oh, my gosh. Matters of the heart.
See? Don't mess with happy. If you're happy, stay another year. BYU will not be outbid.
Well, if you're happy and you show it, cash a check.
There it is. They're making it up as we go along here. Good work, PK.
I wonder how do they pay him? Do these guys have direct deposit?
Yeah, I would think so.
How does it? I literally saw one person hand another player a check. And here's your money that we've contracted you for these particular services. You were fulfilling these services, and I was standing right there, so he gave him a check. I wonder how that works. How do these guys have direct deposit?
Nope.
Does it go to their agent? Does it go to their mother? How does it work?
That wasn't Egor Demin money, though. That was small potatoes. Big potatoes.
That was basically peanuts compared to
big potatoes and real world money. For us and our listeners.
This is one I expected them to do what I'm just saying the idea of a booster giving a player a check would have been, oh my gosh, that would have been under the cover of darkness at 3 a.m.
And now all of a sudden it's out in the
it
open.
Was in broad daylight. Right. And it's not life-changing money, but the service that they provided was not that grueling either. For what they had to do, it was good money. But when you're talking about millions of dollars, Frashilla's got a thing. There's a point guard for Phoenix. I don't remember his name, but he's out of Villanova, and his salary is like $600,000 or something. And Frashilla was talking about there's 500 guys in college making more than this kid is in the NBA. And Frischilla's ideas are, this system obviously is broken, but we've been hearing about it. We've been hearing about it so much, I'm sick of hearing about it.
Is it broken? I mean, it's really different, but is it broken?
Yeah, I think it is.
Fran Fraschilla, quote, I'm guessing there are 500 D1 players who will make more than the Suns guard Colin Gillespie's $578,000 salary this year, one of the best college guards of the last decade. This fact alone is indicative of a broken system that won't sustain itself long term. Where are the administrative, quote, adults in the room, unquote, who can help fix this? Gone.
Yeah.
Well,
I think the system is broken.
This is driven by a small handful of conference commissioners. The NCAA.
Well, what do you mean by that?
2 to 4 commissioners driving everything, driving the money, encouraging people. I mean, when the coach gives the conference commissioner a shout out that way, I mean, behind the scenes, these guys are talking to ADs. This is how we're going to make more money. This is how we're going to get more money for our athletes. And you can say it's broken, but I've heard that people in sports have been getting paid too much and it isn't sustainable basically my entire adult life. I can remember.
Right, but there's some guardrails on that stuff. And I know your father said that, but there was guardrails on that stuff.
How so? I mean, we've been handing out 14-year contracts for $500, $600 million. We're going to have $100 million NBA players coming up. It seems like the die is cast now with the last TV deal. It's a matter of time. It won't happen right away, but it'll happen a few years down the road. And if there's a course correction and they pay less money, is the system broken, or there's just a correction and now there's not as much money as there was, but college basketball is still going on? And I mean, it's not going to go away, is it? More appetite than ever.
Jim Nantz was wondering about that.
Yeah.
What's it going to be? Are we going to have college basketball in 15 years? Sure, we're going to have youngsters playing hoop, but are they going to be affiliated in the manner that they are now? And if the fans decide it's broken, then it's broken. And it's not just one or two. It's hundreds of thousands and millions. If they check out, then, that's what's dangerous about it.
But is there any indication they're checking out?
Man, you're talking about asking me about climate change, and Adam and Eve are both in the Garden of Eden for 3 years. So, and I don't know how long they stayed in that Grand Garden arena, but
Vegas! I see what you did there.
You've got to look way down the line. I mean, the reality is that you have to look past our lifetime to be able to answer that. In the short term, it looks like there's no way. But what's going to happen? These boosters, man. Unless you have some perpetual fund that feeds itself, they're going to give money like this every year to multiple players? And then after you win, right, these dudes at BYU clearly want the Cougars to be nationally relevant. They want them to play on the final Monday of the season, right?
Yes.
And that's the goal, obviously. Well, suppose that happens and you're victorious. Then how much better is your life because your sports team won some type of title? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And if they win one, do they need 2 or 3? And at some point, I don't know, you want to be UCLA and win 10 out of 12, and then you're done. But somebody else steps up and things change. I mean,
that's where I think it's
different.
Overrated.
Yeah, I get it. But we're not the ones writing the checks.
It's fun in the moment. Yeah, I know, but then you're going to have to write it again and again and again.
Yeah, I know.
And are you willing to do that? Or if BYU ever gets there, is that because they've never been there and they finally got there, is that the be-all, panacea, end-all? And, okay, I've achieved what I wanted. They've achieved what I wanted them to achieve. And then do I want to keep giving money? And suppose your business takes a hit. I mean, just look at what's going on in the world this very day.
Yeah.
How do you have all that money all the time?
But it's BYU now. It was Gonzaga. Before that, it was UNLV. I mean, it seems like there's always somebody. And I just don't know that they're ever going to stop spending at Duke. It just seems like Duke will be there forever. They may take a hit for a while. North Carolina went out in the round of 64 this year. I mean, that happens.
I think where it can be sustainable is that, and this is only for the few, is they get endorsements that come from beyond the boosters, right? Mm-hmm. We've seen Cooper Flagg in national ads. We've seen Juju Watkins in national ads.
AJ's going to get Nike money, right? Regardless of where he goes to school, he's going to get Nike money.
So you can get that type of situation there, and maybe that's the way. So it's not pressure on, I'll just use the local example, the Eccles family year after year. Eccles family builds a facility, and then it's top-notch for 20-some years. You know what I mean? Yeah. Here, you buy a recruit. That's great. Okay, what about next year? What about the year after? What about the year after? What about all these players? It's just the few. It's the reason why Donnie Daniels was pointing out how ridiculous it was that the name couldn't be on the back of the 44 Utah basketball jersey when we all knew who it was. But he's the chosen few. He was that good. And I'm speaking of Van Horn, obviously, for those that don't know. And he couldn't make any money off of that, so they couldn't put his name on there. Doesn't that seem like that was maybe 200 years ago?
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Your feedback next.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
Join Jake and Ben tomorrow from 10 to noon. Peach Windows and Doors, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake City. Check them out at peachbuildingproducts.com. Question of the morning. What should Egor Demin do? NBA or BYU? Dan Hubbard says he's not ready yet. He needs to stay at BYU.
Nobody's ever ready except one or two guys. That's a dumb argument by a Cougar fan.
Dan does play-by-play for Preston High School Sports in Preston, Idaho. Definitely going Cougar fan, yes. Troy, as much as I'd love for him to come back, if I'm being honest, he should go to the NBA. Lottery pick should go. You never know what could or might happen. Go!
Yep, something to be said for that.
Tyler, he's already a Jazz man. Ryan Smith knows what he's doing. Will he last that long? The Jazz are going to have a pick that's probably going to be around 20.
Well, I think what they can do, though,
trade up,
is move up. Yeah. So you got the first pick, right? That's going to be in the top
5.
I'm not even going to go lower than 3. Right? So you got the second pick, and then you've got, my gosh, you've got everything at your disposal that I would think would allow you to move up fairly easily up to 5 spots. Because I don't think Demin is a slam dunk going to be a 10, 12, 15-year NBA guy.
The Minnesota pick can change dramatically because they're bunched up with a bunch of teams. It's 21 right now. So to your theory, move up to 16. And I've seen Demin 11, 14, 15, 17. I checked 4 mock drafts earlier this morning. Just randomly.
Don't you think they'd be able to move up if they really, really wanted someone?
You know the pick they have that we're not talking about? Because they traded the 3rd first-round pick, right? The worst of the 3 picks, which will be the Cleveland pick. They traded to the Suns, and they traded 3 picks in the future, 25, 27, 29, like that, to get the 2031 pick. But PK, they're going to have the first pick in the 2nd round. I mean, are we going to split hairs here over 28 and 31? At that point, everyone starts to like different players, and you probably get your guy. So that alone to say, hey, we're going to offer pick whatever the Wolves turns out to be, 20, 21, 22, who knows, and pick 31 or 32. I mean, it's going to be one of the two.
Yeah.
How far up will that get you? You know?
I got you.
Get a team in that needs a lot of young guys. I mean, the Suns now have more picks, but they might need more picks more quickly. Of course, they're not in that range, though, so that shoots that down.
But the point.
Right. Dallas, maybe Dallas, who will probably pick in that 13, 14, 15, 16 range, somewhere in there. Dallas might say, yeah, we'd rather have 2 guys than one. The guy we want at 15 will still be there at 21.
Yeah, make it happen. I'm so excited.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Jake and Ben are up next.